Good morning, everybody. We might be 17 floors up here in the News UK building in London, but on the ground in Ahmedabad, England, they've got a serious fight ahead of them. Very much a case of what might have been yesterday. Ben Stokes, Ollie Pope and Dan Lawrence all showing flashes of brilliance, but India's quality and depth presents, you could call it an unrelenting challenge, and the consequence of that is that England were bowled out for 205. India are 24 for 1 in response, and we say it just about every time we come on air, but the first session of play will be crucial today. Darren Gough is alongside me. What optimism have you brought to us this morning, Goughy?
Well, I've had a good think about this overnight, and all I'm going to say is the obvious. It's a massive day for England. Let's get to it. I mean, 205 all out, not good enough. Poor performance from England on a good pitch. Much talk about the pitch over the past 2 weeks, but this was an absolute belter. And what I mean by a belter, I don't mean flat. I mean it was a fantastic cricket wicket. A bit in it for the seamer, a bit of turn, bit of bounce. Everybody's in the game, but if you can bat and get a partnership going, you can score runs quite comfortably. And 205 all out, not good enough. And then we get the ball in hand, and we got one seamer, realistically, Jimmy Anderson, and he showed his skill again last night. He bowled beautifully to take that wicket, going for hardly any runs. Did he go for a run? Or did he go for one, I think, didn't he? Or something like one run. Yep. Absolutely magnificent spell. If he'd have just had another out-and-out seamer with him with that new ball, you just never know. But today, Mark, that first hour is absolutely huge.
Okay, so selection. Let's just spend a moment on that before we go to the highlights of yesterday's play. A shock to us, I'm sure, to see Jofra Archer left out. We then heard that was an injury issue, but there was no place for say, Stone or Wood or Broad. And the consequence of that was the extra batsman, Dan Lawrence, who made some runs. But Dom Bess was back instead of Stuart Broad. England with a four-man attack, one of whom isn't fully fit, Ben Stokes, and one of whom hasn't been in great nick, Dom Bess. How much have we seen that hurt England yet, and how much do you think it'll hurt them going forward?
Well, it was a safety first selection, wasn't it? I mean, most captains, positive captains, would have gone in with 5 out-and-out bowlers. That's where they would have wanted it. It wasn't to be for England. They needed that cover with a bat, with a collapse as they've had in Chennai and the first test there, the day-nighter last week. And I think England got away with it. I know it sounds daft saying they got away with it, but they won the toss and batted. If they'd have won the toss and fielded yesterday with one seamer, I mean, we'd have been absolutely talking about that, and everybody would have been talking about it all last night and all this morning. One seamer, if you'd have lost the toss, we'd have had Jimmy Anderson bowling. On that pitch, which we saw, was good carry with the new ball.
We might be talking about it this morning. Swing. If we'd had some pace out there was plenty of carry and bounce early for the Indian bowlers. I think there would have been...
Well, we got it wrong, didn't we, Matt? We got the selection wrong the last test, and we got it wrong this test. Let's be honest.
Thank you. Very good. In which case, we can close that conversation and turn our attentions to the highlights from yesterday.
Axar Patel, well, what a start to his career. 18 wickets at under 10. Here is Patel's bowled him, he's through. Dom Sibley's on his way. Crawley uses his feet once again. He's heaved this one straight down towards mid-off and straight into the hands of Mohammad Siraj.
Yeah, there's positive intent and there's also recklessness, and I think that is the latter.
Mohammad Siraj, finally we start again after a long drinks break. That's horribly close and that's out. Absolutely stone dead LBW. Joe Root trapped back.
Ashwin down the wicket comes Stokes, and that's how to go downtown. And he's gone all the way for 6 over long off. Here is Mohammad Siraj continuing to Johnny Bairstow. Up goes the finger, he's hit him on the pad.
78 for 4 now here on TalkSport 2 England. In trouble.
Here's Mohammad Siraj to bowl to Ben Stokes, and Stokes is forward. Lovely straight drive. The very best of Ben Stokes.
Here is Washington Sundar. Slog sweep once again from Ben Stokes. No problem with connecting with this one. All the way over wide long on for 6. Reverse sweep, beautifully played, and he's played it beautifully to bring up his half century. That is a fabulous innings, the beginnings of an innings of great importance for Ben Stokes and for England.
Sundar in around the wicket, takes Stokes on the pad. Stokes' head goes down, he knows what's coming next. Nitin Menon's into the game, raising his finger for LBW.
Lovely straight drive, glorious shot. by Dan Lawrence.
Ashwin in again, a little bit of width outside the off stump. Beautiful punch off the back foot. Dan Lawrence, oh my goodness me, he's timed that magnificently well.
Down comes Pope wisely, and now wait a minute, we have a problem. England, that Pope knows he has a problem.
Nicked it inside edge. Oh, onto the pad. Oh, dear me. What great fielding. It's a massive, massive wicket, that.
One of the reasons Folks plays spin so well is he plays it so calmly. Oh, he has got out. God. Ben Folks has played forward and nicked it to slip.
Akshar is going to bowl. Left arm around the wicket. Lawrence has come down the pitch and has missed it, and he's stumped. Innings over for Lawrence. Akshar is in, taking on the pad his best, giving out LBW.
Oh, full toss from Ashwin, and it's slapped away through the offside for 4.
Declare England. You've got
200 on the board. They're 203 for 9. Ashwin in again. Forward comes Jack Leach. Big appeal for leg before wicket, and he's given him. England have been bowled out after winning the toss and choosing to bat first for 205.
3 slips in the gully for Anderson as he comes in. Bowls a good ball. That isn't so far away. Has it held its line enough? Yes.
What a start for England. What a start for Anderson.
Yeah, only 4 of England's main batsmen getting double figures. 10 for James Anderson at the end, but the double figures were hardly hurting India. Bairstow 28, Stokes 55, Pope 29, and Dan Lawrence 46. We'll talk about Pope and Lawrence in just a moment. I won't talk about the dismissal of Ben Folks because I rather feel he brought it upon him, though he was playing that ball nice and calmly, even though he edged it to slip. So 205 then, the total for England. And Akshar Patel with 4 for 68, R. Ashwin 3 for 47, the main destroyers, a wicket 2 for Washington Sundar, but a very big wicket, of course, that of Ben Stokes. And then Shubman Gill, LBW to James Anderson. Ben Stokes didn't really get it quite straight enough. He admitted afterwards to being nervous using the new ball, given it was the first time he'd done it for England in a test match. And then Jack Leach and Dom Best bowled 5 overs between them, 4 from Leach. There was some spin out there, which is encouraging, but look, it was a very difficult day for England because of the expectation, having won the toss. And when you cut down your own expectation, it eats away at you. We can't pretend anything else, and it's going to take not just a tremendous physical effort, but a tremendous mental effort, a lot of courage today to fight their way back into the game. Darren Gough still with me. Steve Harmison joins us. Morning, Harmy.
Good morning, Mark.
Are you good, Nick?
Yeah, very good, Nick. Got an extra hour's sleep last night, so ready for...
Where's the trick? Just went to bed earlier, did he?
No, I think it was I'm in the position you were in the night before. It was these early starts are very challenging.
Okay, let's not talk bed positions. I'm not sure it's what the listener's hoping for.
It might have been the 8 cobras with the army. I think he's got him to sleep.
Did you find some cobras? Did you, as opposed to just a straight hiney or something?
No, I did. I just round the corner from the hotel. There's a nice little shop where you can.
Did you?
Yeah.
You sunk into a vat of cobra.
I did. Yeah, watching the football. So it was very enjoyable, and fingers crossed we're going to have an enjoyable session. This session, as Darren's totally right, it is a big session for England, and hopefully they can get back into the game because, boy, they need to.
I mean, in your view, we had this discussion at such length yesterday, but I'm just going to touch on it now. In your view, let me get this clear. You would like to see a second specialist new ball bowler out there with Anderson, but it wouldn't be one of the all-rounders. It would be one of the quicks who were here as second fiddle to Archer, effectively. So, Stone or Wood? Yeah,
Stone or Wood for me. I think if you looked at the way, from a seam bowling point of view, if you looked at the way Suraj and Bumrah Ishant went about their job yesterday, when they first started yesterday morning, they hit the pitch. They hit the pitch hard, and there was a bit of deviation. Ball was nipping back, and I think a bowler of Wood or of Stone would have been quite handy on this sort of surface. But they haven't got that. They've got to go with what they have got, and they've got to find a way of somehow getting 10 wickets. And 10 wickets quickly as possible, because they don't want to concede a lead to India, because we see in the last test match any sort of lead and psychologically they blow England out of the water. So the selection, I think they got it horribly wrong. I would love to see another quick bowler.
Goffey, yesterday wickets, 7 of them taken, no more than that I think. Anyway, Akshar Patel took 4 and R. Ashwin took 3 for sure.
Sundar picked one up, didn't he? So 8 to spin.
Yeah, that's right. And they were too early to Mohammad Siraj.
Yeah.
Did you feel that England hadn't learnt anything against spin?
Again, you could see they had a little bit of intent. Zach Crawley definitely wanted to score. He went after the seamers early on. He was just a little bit anxious. You could see that. I think Dom Sibley just didn't look like playing a shot, did he, yesterday? He was just trying to survive, and he obviously went as soon as Patel came into the attack, inside edge through the gate. But with Zach Crawley, you saw a little bit of an intent from him, but he just the wrong shot. I mean, he ran down the wicket, got nowhere near it, and instead, plan B, just trying to defend the ball, he ended up getting out.
Well, we heard him afterwards when I chatted with him. We heard about him afterwards when I chatted with Ben Stokes, who said it is easy for you guys to be critical of Zach Crawley because you want us to play more positively, but if he got out defending, he wouldn't have liked that either. I think it's a bit harsh on us, but I hear the point. It didn't look good, but the approach to it was, in their view, right.
I disagree with that, because we could all go in, can't we, Mark, and all run down the wicket and get stumped. I mean, anybody can do that, mate. I mean, I think when it comes down to it, I think with Zach Crawley, but an opening batsman, you would expect, yes, you come down the wicket. He's not a tail ender. You don't come down the wicket to try and yahoo it into space. He's a good enough player. He's an opening batsman who can come down the wicket and think, I've just been done a little bit on the fly, defend it, and then get back in my crease.
I thought he was done 2 or 3 balls earlier. He came down the wicket, and you could just sense that the fielders were just getting themselves up and thinking, right, something's going to happen here. And it was a little bit of naivety and inexperience, I thought, from anything from Zach Crawley. But to answer your question, Mark, I actually thought England did learn from that last Test match. I didn't think they looked to play the spinning ball. I thought they looked to play the ball straight. Ben Stokes especially, and he said it afterwards in an interview, he had been playing for the straight ball all day, and the one that he did play for any sort of turn, it was the straight one that he missed and got LBW. And I think Pope did that well, and look, he was unfortunate to get out. I thought there was better signs yesterday in application of how they were going to go about their job against the spinners. I just thought some of their shots execution was their downfall.
Right. Well, that's the segue I wanted, actually, because I said I wanted to talk about Pope and Lawrence, and I thought they batted really well. Super, actually. They tried to get to the pitch of the ball and were happy to defend when they did. They stayed the right side of the ball, and also they let their own personality appear on the match, like a nice bit of hustle, a nice bit of putting pressure back on the bowler, a sense that young men were up for it.
I thought Dan Lawrence played really, really well. And I thought he got his game. He knew where he wanted to score. Even to the left arm spinner, he was running down and getting across his stump, so he can still try and play to his strength through the leg side. I think Ollie Pope, again, I just think he was very, very nervous. But what we did see, again, his ability to get back deep in his crease and cut the ball, again, especially off the left-hander. And that's one of his delightful shots against the spinner. But I think with Ollie, I think he knows he wants to be busy at the crease, but he just hasn't found a way to score consistently. He will do. He's a terrific talent, and I enjoy watching him bat.
I actually thought Ollie Pope batted really well yesterday. I did. I thought he got, like you mentioned before, he front and back, he got out to the pitch of the ball. He was unlucky at the manner of the dismissal he got out with, but his all-round game plan and his intent, I thought was there for somebody who, let's be fair as well, 2 very, very young lads who have got into a position of England 5 down for not very many, and you're looking to firefight against two world-class spinners. So, fair play to the 2 young lads in the middle. Good signs for England. It's just the top order, the 1, 2, 3. That's what constantly gets Ollie Pope and Dan Lawrence, if he does play a little bit longer, puts them under pressure, because if you're not scoring runs at the top, you're always putting firefights out, and you're always trying to counter-attack in that middle order, which it just can't keep happening for me.
Players are out in the middle. It looked as if they were walking out in a little bit of that morning sort of smog fog that you would get in India, but in fact now the cameras have got in tighter. It looks a clearer picture. Ben Stokes is chatting with Rohit Sharma. It seems friendly after the handbags between Stokes and Mohammad Siraj yesterday when Stokes was batting. England came out looking pretty relaxed. I wouldn't say they bounded out sort of with an energetic body language, but I would say they walked calmly to the middle. I mean, I think the reality is that they have to play so very well today to give themselves a chance of winning the match. You have to bowl India out for something around your score, probably no more than 250, say. And then you have to bat well in response to it. So they know they've got to play their best cricket. A few more spectators in the ground. There was a nice cheer for the two Indian batsmen, Rohit Sharma and Cheteshwar Pujara, who are out in the middle now. Rohit Sharma is a great danger to England, primarily because he's a high-class player. We talk a lot about he scores quickly and take the game away, can take the game away from the attack. The long and the short of it is that he's just a high-class player, and you've got to bowl darn well to get him out when he's in the zone. If he's playing loosely, yes, he'll give you opportunities, but that hasn't been his style in the innings that he's played on this tour, which have been highly impressive. Okay, well, it's a nice scene, of course. The sun's out, a few shadows in this early morning light, a very different light, a white light compared to the afternoon yellow light. In comes James Anderson, and he bowls a nice full ball, and immediately Rohit just sort of leans on it and uses the angle of it to get it to mid-wicket for a couple. Dom Bess does the chasing, so India are away this morning. Rohit has 45 on his back. We were debating yesterday why Ashwin may have 99 on his back. But anyway, pretty comfortable that from Rohit, although the ball is taken off middle and leg. The angles suggest it might go on and hit leg, and he's happy then just letting the ball come to him and shutting the face. But there's two for Rohit to start the day. Again, a nice calm stance, lifts his bat up, waits for Anderson. He's left it alone, it nips back, it hits him on the thigh pad. He's lucky that didn't keep low, otherwise it would have trapped him in front of all three.
It's amazing because when Jimmy Anderson first came on the scene, everything he bowled went away from the right-hander. But as he's got older, the experience, he likes to set them up by a lot of in-swingers now to the right-hander, and then the odd one going away. He prefers the ball going in, especially, which is not a bad thing on these sort of pitches. You're bowling at the stumps, especially early on to Rohit Sharma. You want to attack those stumps.
Yeah, you particularly see if there's any uneven bounce. And if it skedaddles through low, you could get lucky. Rohit is back, defends right off the middle of the bat. We talked yesterday about the time he had to play. And he's right up there amongst players of the modern era regards time to play. He gets in position quickly and sees it early and plays it late. All the old adages. As Anderson, who looks very fit, he's put on a few years, he certainly hasn't put on any pounds, and he's clear of injury at the moment. It's another thing. I wonder if they considered that, picking Anderson alone, whether he might pick up a niggle. Anyway, here he comes now, number 9 on his back. Bowls a nice ball to Sharma, who goes forward and defends out onto the offside. Rohit has got good footwork at the moment, the sign of a batsman who's in form. Forward, back, and in balance, balance. If you're looking for anything in a batsman, maybe it'd be that.
Yeah, absolutely. He just looks as though it's in slow motion. You look at the greats, the players that have played over the years, and the one thing you will say that they've all got similar characteristics at having so much time. It looks as though it's in slow motion. They look as though they're in total control, and that's what Rohit does. But when you mentioned about Goffey there, about Jimmy Anderson taking the ball away, I actually think it's a sign of how well Jimmy's evolved, because he's evolved with the game. Batsmen now play it out in front of themselves, whether that's DRS from the spin bowling department, or players look to get at the ball, and Jimmy's worked out that the ball goes back onto off stump.
Here he comes again. Bowls a little floaty outswinger, much fuller, and sure enough, Rohit went at it a bit harder, and it did go in the air, but short of that deep gully, or really probably backward point.
It is amazing, really. Like I said, out and out outswinger when he was younger, and then as he's got older, he's realised the techniques and the way the game's played now with DRS, get the ball going into the pads. Yet to a left-hander, when he bowls, he wants it to go away towards the slip corner to a left-hander rather than into him.
He bowls again, and he appeals for LBW, but I don't think he does so with any heartfelt belief that it might be given out. And it's the end of the first over of the morning, though. No, they're asking Root whether you want to review it. No, it's all a bit high and a bit to the inside edge it and top of the paddy and all that stuff. So nothing coming from that ball. The end of a tidy enough over from Anderson takes India to 26 for 1. Who will Root go to now? The pace of Stokes or the guile of Jack Leach?
I think he's got to go at Stokes. I think while the ball's newish and you can get a shine on the ball and potentially get the ball moving laterally or get the ball to deviate, he's got to go with his seamer. Even though he's not playing, I know we've had this argument, but he's got to go with seam.
I'd go with seam, but I just thought he might just go with spin this morning. But it looks like he might be going to Stokes. I would have started with seam, absolutely 100%. That's what we're talking about, playing an extra seamer. But I just think, I'm not so sure he would.
Funny, so much of this whole thing about selection and captaincy is about what the opposition would least want you to do. And the Indian openers would have had a more uncomfortable last half an hour of their life waiting for play to get underway if Jofra Archer was going to be steaming in at them. Now, I know we had news that he wasn't fit. I wonder if it had been 2-2 in the Ashes, whether he would have played. Anyway, Ben Stokes running in here. And is back of a length, and so too Pujara is back, and actually was a bit hurried, just sort of trying to half work that leg side and not being able to do it, and ending up it ball bouncing out on the offside.
I think the way Ben bowls and Ben hustles, he bowls it hard into the pitch. He's got this knack of going over the top, hasn't he, at the top of the action, which then is like a little leg cutter. We've seen where Ishant bowled on it yesterday. He hit the pitch hard and he got something out of the pitch.
That ball swings a little at no great pace and almost doesn't carry through to Ben Stokes. Well, I mean, to me, if Stokes is playing the bowl, he has to run in. He's not effective when he's bowling below full pace and trying to move it around. When he steams in, gets through his action, then occasionally he'll get the ball to move, but hitting the pitch hard is an important part of what he does.
Well, he should be fresh. He's hardly bowled any overs, has he, on this trip? He's hardly bowled for a long time, let's be honest about it. But he has got a couple of niggles. He's carrying around with him.
And he comes again. He bowls a offering wide, sort of carrot-like offering to Pujara, who resists it without any problem at all. In fact, he watched it go by with some disdain and said, this is Pujara you're bowling at.
but he did say yesterday, Ben Stokes, but listen, he knows his job here is just to bowl a couple of overs, see if it swings. If it doesn't swing, put the spinner on. Which I thought was quite a negative statement for Ben Stokes, because if I'd have been him and seen where that pitch and the way it carried and Ben can bowl up to it and get it up to 90 miles an hour, I'd have been running in and hitting that pitch.
Pujara's back and defends out to, gully really, and there's no run from that off at the back of a length. I think you've nailed that again, Goffey, as you so often do. It was so un-Stokes like. It was a sort of I'm here as an afterthought. I'll try 3 overs, see if it swings. Otherwise, it's the spinners.
There's also people who struggle to bowl with the new ball. They struggle to get a hold, the grip. You know what it's like. There's people more comfortable with a ball that's 6-7 overs old because it's the lacquer's gone off it and it's easier to grip and easier to hold.
That's a good ball. That's a Ben Stokes ball. Now, to describe it, it's a little wide. Okay, so it was left alone, but it's just back of a length. It swings, carries on away from the bat as it pitches and hits the seam, and carries through to the keeper above waist height. That really sort of sprung out of the surface and had something in it and on it.
He finished his action though. He got through his action. It looked as though he hit the crease and went through with some sort of purpose. The message we talked about last night from Joe Root should be, right, Ben, let's have a go.
Here he is again, red hair, and that's the in-swinger. Very rarely do you see two balls bowled the same back to back by Stokes. The end of his over. Comfortable defence from Pujara, 26 for 1.
Yeah, there's a bit there for the seamer. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. We've been sat here, me and Arby, over the last couple of days, and when you go to India or anywhere like that where you know the pitch is going to benefit spin more than the seam, if you'd have rocked up as a seam bowler today and you'd have seen the way India bowled on it and the carry it had, you'd be absolutely licking your lips to get out there and have a go at it. And that's how I just thought it was a bit negative from him last night. I was just going to have a look with the new ball for 2 overs, then I was coming off. I'd have been saying, I've got an opportunity here with the new ball in my hand, the ball carrying for the first time on this trip. I'm going to take one with me here. Jimmy Anderson looked beautiful last night.
You looked at where Ben got into a contest yesterday when he came out with the bat. If I was Joe Root, I'd ask him to do that with the ball. Get into a contest. We see Ben be the battering ram, whether it be in England or in South Africa when we're out in South Africa. That should be the message to him now. You've got 4 overs. Go and bowl some bouncers. Go and bowl. Just make something happen with the ball. Hit the pitch hard.
Anderson nipping it around, hits the thigh pad. Right, Sharma doesn't look disturbed at the moment, but he is beaten by that ball. I think there's plenty in it. Never mind a bit. I think there's plenty. If you had a really high-class attack here, I mean, I wouldn't have even minded Broad with Anderson.
And let's be straight about it. With these, you've got Rohit Sharma, who can take the game away from England absolutely in 2 sessions, and you've got Pujara, who's the rock. He'll just bat and bat and bat, and you'll have to dismiss him with a good delivery.
It's beautifully played, really. The ball bounced a bit on a length, and Rohit Sharma got across to off stump, just leant forward so that his weight was transferred, got his head over it, and then knocked it into the big space on the leg side where the easy single could be taken. So Pujara, who has 15 and Rohit 11, will now be on strike. Pujara, that is. They both face 42 balls. The deficit's 178, so by no means a problem if these two build nicely at the start, which certainly will be their method. There's no sense in this series really that Rohit's trying to particularly take the bowler on. He's letting the game come to him, and when chances to score come, he takes them. Pujara, a resilient man in so many different ways, now on strike to Jimmy Anderson. Left alone outside off stump. There'll be a lot of that. If you don't bowl straight to Pujara today, he'll watch it go by till the ball softens. He loves playing spin because he uses his feet so well. So that if he doesn't have to play against the quicks, he won't.
Well, the chat from India today, wasn't it, in the circle would have been, boys, we bat well today. We win the game and we're in the Test Championship final. That's all you've had to say to him this morning. We bat well today, all day. We're still in at the end of play. We win this game and we're in the final.
Forward goes Pujara and defends to mid-off. There's no run. We just saw a terrific television picture. Pujara's gloves are all white. They don't have any other marking on them except the sponsor's name. They don't have any sort of blue stripe or anything. And we saw a picture of all his spare gloves, reserve gloves, lined up on the boundary fence.
Set for a long knock.
And there were 6 pairs. There were 6 pairs. Told us all we need to know.
His mindset's there for a while, isn't it?
Left alone. That's a little outswinger from Anderson. Michael Clarke used to have 10 pairs ready to go. 10 pairs of gloves.
I mean, some people do. I mean, I play with a cricketer at Yorkshire, Martin Moxon. He used to change his gloves every 4 overs.
Yeah, he did.
I said, if he ever gets a double ton, I said, we're going to have to go to the shop to get him some new gloves.
I'm sure I had 10 pairs in an 18-year career.
Sri Lanka guy. What was that? Sorry?
I'm not sure I had 10 pairs in an 18-year career.
I'm sure you didn't. No, left alone outside off stump, back of a length, easy for Pujara to leave. Disappointingly, not quite straight enough that over from Anderson. 27 for 1, Pujara 15, Rohit 11. Yeah, I played with Martin Moxon, Froggy as we called him, on a tour of Sri Lanka, and it's very humid, as you know, in Colombo, like 100% humidity. And I don't suppose a set of gloves lasted 4 overs, to be honest.
Oh, he was unbelievable, and he's so neat, wasn't he? I mean, everything was just so neat.
Everything.
He used to number them, didn't he? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, not rocket science, is it? But
no, but everything about him, every item of clothing, the crease in his trousers, the position of the thigh pad, he was a very exact, neat person.
I think I numbered mine once.
Very good.
Just because I saw everybody else doing it. And then I numbered my bat and everything. It didn't work either.
But they were busy running in. Right, Ben Stokes. Lots of fielders on the offside, 6 of them. And he bowls an outswinger off stump which is left alone. There's the problem this morning for England. Too many balls that the Indians don't have to play at. It'll mean that on the leg side he's got mid-on and long leg that we can see, but I'll wager that square leg is back on the fence, and that eventually he will test Rohit with a bouncer or 2. Not many in the ground, a bit like yesterday. So there isn't quite the fizz in the atmosphere that we had in the first test match here, where we had much bigger crowds. Nobody seems able to explain that. I haven't read anything that explains it either. Stokes again. That's a good delivery. Holds its line around middle stump, and right, because he plays nice and late, just is able to adjust, and the ball runs off the blade of the bat into the gully.
There's definitely a bit of shape there this morning, isn't there? The surprising thing for me is, but you got Ben Stokes here, who's swinging the ball out to the right-handed Rohit Sharma and Pujara. Yeah, you got Jimmy Anderson, who's not really shaped it away from the right-hander. So obviously different ends. So if it is swinging nicely out to the right, I'd like to see Jimmy have a go from the end Ben Stokes is bowling from.
Stokes again, and Sharma is back, and because square leg is back, there's a lot of space for a single on the leg side, which he takes off a little punch off the back foot. Yeah, I mean, Anderson, the two in the last over that Anderson got to shape away were both wide of off stump.
Yeah, that's the point. I think it's shaping from wide, but when you actually going straighter, it's not moving off the straight.
It's weird that,
and
it
is weird. But a lot of it is body position at the crease when you're letting go of the ball. Ben Stokes has this knack of getting blocked off, and when he gets blocked off, he comes across himself and he throws that little bit wider. And when his action is in sync and he's right behind it, that's when he pulls his length back and he hits the pitch hard, and the wicket's gonna do a bit. But from an Anderson point of view, if Anderson's seen it shaping from wide, Jimmy's quite conservative. He doesn't, very rarely does he go and gamble that little bit straighter because of his pace, and he just gets whipped. Six men on the offside.
Stokes, oh, that's not a good ball. Very full and wide down the leg side. Good take, actually, by Ben Folkes. They talk about the way this ground's been rebuilt, and I have to say it looks new as a pin. We just had a wide shot on the big television screens that we've got here in our studio. Grass is a nice conditioned emerald green, big green sword, and the stands are multicoloured. Without many people sitting in them, they're clearly fresh seats, and it all looks shiny. Oh, good delivery from Ben Stokes, bangs it into the surface, and Pujara calmly throws his head and shoulders back, swaying out of the way of the ball. Of course, he's just taken the brunt of the Australians on quick pitches or quicker pitches down there, Cummins and Stark, and he's dealt with them extremely well.
Well, he got hit time and time again, didn't he, in Australia, but he just kept batting. Showed terrific bravery and technique. With Ben Stokes, those last two deliveries, that's more like it. I know one threw down the leg side, but that's the speed we used to seeing Ben Stokes operate at.
And he's finding it another beauty. He's left alone. If he can get that just 3 inches further to his right, in other words, towards off stump, that's a jaffa, because it's shaping away well. So the end of that over, you're listening to commentary of the fourth test between India and England on TalkSport 2 with the Times and the Sunday Times. Try it free for 1 month at thetimes.co.uk/cricket. The offer is very good, and subscription automatically renews unless it's cancelled. Obviously the terms and conditions apply. So there we are, we're in harness with the likes of Michael Atherton, who's the correspondent of the Sunday Times. Alistair Cook, who writes good stuff for the Sunday Times. Michael Atherton, the Times itself, of course. India are 177 behind. Anderson now. Again, a bit short, and no great pace from Jimmy this morning. None of that nip or zip, and Rohit plays it with plenty of time. He scratches his head, wipes his brow, looks up to the sky on a bright sunny day in Ahmedabad.
Goffy, would you sacrifice maybe a slip or a man on the offside to go straighter on the leg side to give Jimmy if you were Joe Root and say, right, Jimmy, come on, 5-4 field and bowl straight?
It's a good ball. That is a very good ball. That's perfect. That is very straight. It offers. Doesn't really go. Rowe's in good nick, so he punched it to mid-on, but it's a good line, because if he misses, Jimmy hits.
Well, what you were saying there, Ram, is spot on. And that line he bowled the last ball, if he's going to bowl there, there's no problem whatsoever, is it? If he's going to want the ball to go into the right-hander, if he's going to attack the stumps, there's nothing wrong having a man in at short mid-wicket, which gives him a bit of cover. We know Jimmy doesn't like going for runs.
It's left alone outside off stump, off a good length. Looks to me like England need more pace. I mean, that was the thing about Mohammad Siraj, wasn't it? That England were a bit hurried by him.
Well, he did. He bowled lively, didn't he? And his variation of pace, when he let one go, it was right up there, wasn't it? 146, 147. You got the both England bowlers here bowling at what? Between 132 and 135.
Thing with Siraj as well, though, is his intent to hit length, his body language. He looked as though he was up for the fight. He was hard into the back of a length, and then when he looked to pitch it up, he'd give it a good chance to make it swing.
Yep, that's all spot on. That's a bit quicker from Anderson. It's taken shoulder height by Ben Stokes with his fingers pointing to the sky. It nipped back actually after it was pitched, left alone, but it had a bit of venom to it, and that's exactly right. You've got two old pros here in the 30s, one of whom has bowled millions of overs and one of whom has niggles, and they kind of almost know too much. The youngster just steams in, doesn't care about the pitch.
Yeah. Ollie Stone bowled beautifully, didn't he? In a
Very good.
second test
Very
match.
good.
He did nothing wrong.
Yep. That's left alone as well. Another one easy as it goes by to folks from Anderson. I think it's a key point. So if initially the idea was Archer and it was the injury that kept him out, I wonder what stopped them replacing him with Ollie Stone or Mark Wood.
Yeah. Well, I said Mark Wood would have probably played that second test if he wasn't at home in his rest period. So that would have been the option. But they went with Ollie Stone. He bowled well. He was the best bowler that game.
And Mark Wood only knows one way to bowl, and that's to run up and try and bowl as fast as he can.
Anderson again now bowls good ball. Oh, and he is met by the straightest of bats by Rohit Sharma, who leant into that defensive shot. He didn't get anything for it, but it looked solid. Right, we've had 20 minutes. It's 28 for 1. There'll be a word from Goffey. And then the lesser spotted Butcher will be back into operation. The man who works half-time.
I think when you look at this game so far, it's going exactly, well, today is going exactly as I thought it would. I think Jimmy Anderson, obviously, and Ben Stokes are starting up. There's a little bit of shape there. There's good carry. They've got slips in place. But India have been very watchful. And I would expect that this first hour, thinking, listen, you get past Jimmy Anderson's first spell, let's be fair to it. The spinners are going to be on, and then we might be able to just cash in against the SC attack. I'm expecting to see a few shots against the spin of Leach and Bess. I don't know about you two, Butch.
Very good morning to you, Goffey. A bit of childcare yesterday kept me away from you boys up here on the 17th floor as Ben Stokes charges in, just building up a bit of a head of steam. That one just angling down the leg side. Pujara with a pair of miscoloured or discoloured pads that might have looked at home on the legs of somebody like Dilip Vensarkar back in the day. Just gets a leg bye that Ben Stokes collects down the leg side. So yeah, childcare kept me away from the game, although I did manage to turn on the television just after the toss and have a look at England's team, and I'm guessing that you guys have gone into this at length, but I was utterly baffled. How do you go from 4 quicks on a turner? Stokes is in, full toss, it's drilled at Dan Lawrence at extra cover, and there's no run from Rohit. 4 quicks on a turner 1 week to 1.5 seamers and 7 batters on a perfectly decent surface here in the second game. I don't know. I mean, who looks at these pitches? The lost art of reading pitches, because could not believe it. So I switched the TV off and got back on with Peppa Pig after that.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Quite remarkable. So just to recap where we are, India 29 for 1. Another full toss from Ben Stokes, and Rohit says, thanks, you gave me a sighter, and I'm not going to miss out a second time. That has flown to the boundary at cover. India moved to 33 for 1. Pujara is 15. Rohit goes on to 16 from 53 deliveries, and that was as friendly as it gets.
That's a take-me-off ball, isn't it? Actually, he's got a good little bit of heat going here, Ben Stokes. Got a nice little bit of rhythm for the first time in the series, but you cannot give a player the quality of Rohit Sharma a nice steady away 80 mile an hour full toss outside off stump with 2 fielders covering that side.
Ben just looks as though he hasn't bowled. He's trying to bowl fast, and I know more than anybody else. When you try to bowl fast, it doesn't. If you're not in sync with your action,
Straighter this time, and there's a little inside edge, and then by way of pad the ball runs out to where a man on the 45 might have been for an off spinner, and Rohit picks up a single. 34 for 1 now. Jared.
Yeah, just on Ben Stokes, I just got CricViz to have a look at this. He generally bowls a little bit slower when he bowls it with the new ball. He obviously doesn't bowl with the new ball that much, but when he does come on before the 20 over mark, he usually averages 134 kilometres an hour, and it's usually up around 135, 136 with the older ball, which makes sense because we see him try those gut-busting spells. But he's been down at 131, and I think that's a little bit of injury, his sickness, and also he's not controlling that new ball very well.
It's
so
lack of bowling, Jared, as well. Lack of bowling. I mean, that's what it's down to. Army knows, I know. We did it our whole careers. It's hard work.
Stokes, who'd bowled just 17 overs in the series up until this morning. He's in to Pujara, who, wall-like again, is on the back foot this time with the straightest of blades, blocks it off the back foot. Stokes picks it up in his follow-through. And this is looking like it's going to be extremely hard work for England all day. India seem to have set out their stall to bat long. They'll be thinking bat once in the test match and then unleash Aksar and Ashwin with a sizable lead. And unless England's spin bowlers can have a purple day, I don't see any reason why that shouldn't happen for the Indian team. Stokes is in once again, wide of the crease, and Pujara once again is on the back foot, blocks it straight back down the pitch. Stokes picks it up in his follow through, and that is the end of the over. 171 runs behind India, 34 for 1.
and it's hard to criticise somewhere like Ben Stokes because he doesn't bowl a great deal. They try not to bowl him a great deal because, yes, he's getting older, his body's fallen to bits a little bit. But when they do bowl him, it's always in a contest. And what I mean by a contest, it's either to get a wicket when there's nothing happening, to run up and bowl some bouncers, to just change the outlook and the course of the way the game's going. And I think in this game, he has to go down that route. Joe Root has to give him that responsibility.
I mean, how much, gents, knowing that you've only got the two quicks, how much, knowing that it's burning hot and there's only two of you, does that go into sort of bowling a little bit with the handbrake on at first thing this morning with the new ball? Because you know if the spinners go around the park, they're going to throw the ball back at you and you have no backup.
Well, I said with Jimmy Anderson could easily get 40 overs in here this innings. Absolutely could easily get 40 in.
Anderson in, two slips in the gully weight. It's good length outside the line of off stump. Anderson wheels back towards his bowling mark in disgust with himself at having wasted another ball. Rohit calmly walks away to short leg, and there is no run.
I know what you're saying, Butch, but as a bowler, you can't have that in your mindset. It might be in the back of it.
You can't have it, but it's human nature, isn't it? You kind of know the way that the race is going to be run here if you don't pick up a wicket in your first couple of overs.
But
absolutely.
Jimmy's got till June off anyway, so I think he gets through this game.
Yeah, but
he ain't going to play another game till June, mate.
Yeah, but it's not going to help him in 20 overs time.
Anderson in, sweatband on both wrists, and again the ball is wide of off stump. Rohit just rocks forward, and that goes through to Ben Folkes, and again there's no run.
But I think you've got to be, as a bowler, you're asking in this position, and you're only one of two. You know that there's a potential you might bowl a lot, but you have to worry about what's happening in this next 2 or 3 overs. You've got to give everything you possibly can, because if you start looking long term, then you're not doing your job properly. You're taking your mind off what's going, and you're just defeating the object of bowling at all.
Again, wide of the off stump. That one just a little bit of shape in, but it started too wide to trouble Rohit. He shoulders arms, and again it's through to Folkes. I mean, I'm not suggesting that they're not giving it everything, but you've been killed by the selection of your team almost.
Well, Jimmy's giving it everything. He's 38 years old and he's bowling around 82 miles an hour. That's where he's at now.
It's human nature. It's human nature. I think what you're trying to say, Butch. It's human nature. You're thinking that you're potentially being in for a long day, but you can't have that outlook. I'm sorry. You've got to think what's going to happen in the next 3 or 4 overs in this spell.
Anderson in, and that's straight. You heard that crisp sound of the middle of Rohit's bat as the barn door came down on the forward defensive once more. 34 for 1 is the score. 171 England are ahead after making their what we all think is a rather paltry 205 on what looks to be the best surface of the series so far.
Well, they've got 4 spinners in the side, England, as well, by the way. They've got Leach and Bess and Root and Lawrence.
Yeah, Lawrence with his ministry of silly walks bowling action. That one goes away from Rohit Sharma this time, but again it starts off about 2 feet wide of off stump. Nice kiss and carry through to Ben Foakes, but Rohit unruffled.
Looks like Jimmy's set in just to bowl maidens, but we need him to get wickets. He's our one seamer who's dangerous. He takes wickets wherever he goes and bowls, and we need him to bowl at the stumps and not worry about going for runs for Jim. It's about him knocking over Rohit and Pujara.
Anderson in, and again that time angling the ball back in towards Rohit, but again it starts too wide. Anderson looks pretty disgruntled with life, and that is the end of the 19th over. India remain 34 for 1. Joe Root has a rather pained expression on his face. In fact, the same look that he's had since, well, the second innings of the second test match in Chennai, really, as he tries to mull through and work through his bowling options. We see tabarded 12th, 13th, 14th men run out onto the field with drinks and refreshments for the fielders for England, and it looks as though we might be getting the first change of the day as short leg pads and helmets also make their way into this incredible Coliseum out there in Ahmedabad, the Narendra Modi Stadium. Very warm welcome to Gareth Batty this morning. Perfect timing as spin enters the fray out there in the middle. Our spinner enters the fray up here on the 17th floor.
Very good morning, Butch. Very good morning to anybody that's got up early and is listening. The lone spinner in the room. Not the same for England. We can see with the 4 that you've just gone through, the plethora that they have on offer. What seems to be the surface that is probably the least conducive at the minute. But we saw good signs the last hour, 2 hours yesterday that the pitch is going to deteriorate and these spinners are going to have some fun.
Stokes is still on. Looked as though there was going to be a bowling change, but no, Ben Stokes has gone for 1 more. Short ball flies through to Foakes, and again there's no run. From the Reliance end, Ben Stokes is just trying to sort of build up a head of steam, trying to find a bit of rhythm. The camera pans in on Don Bess, who his mind will be whirling. It was considered surplus to requirements on 2 heavy spinning tracks where the ball went through the surface from the first over of the game. Oh, that's a sharp one. Sharp bouncer from Ben Stokes. And Pujara, we've seen this time and time again from Cherishwar. Pujara drops his hands, sways the body away, and the ball flies through to Ben Foakes, who takes it with the fingers pointing up towards the sky and just above his head.
Quick ball from Ben Stokes. I must admit, Butch, I was listening 10 minutes or so ago and you mentioned the word the wall when Pujara was facing up. I just feel like England might have gone chips all in with the 2 big lads starting now. They've got nowhere to turn but spin.
Stokes is in here, bouncing behind him, and Pujara is in behind it again. Very, very solid indeed. Blocks it off the back foot to extra cover. Stokes wipes a bit of sweat away from the brow. Players, of course, in these times of COVID, unable to apply saliva to the ball as they would naturally, as they would have done all of their careers and most of their cricketing lives. So managing to get a little bit of perspiration from the head and from the hair and applying it to the ball is increasingly important. Not too many shaven heads out there for the England team as Stokes is in, and again Pujara is in behind it, blocks it, takes the bottom hand off the bat on the back foot, adjusts his helmet grill almost in the same movement, and again there is no run. Nice period of pressure here for England.
It is, but what I meant by the chips all in, they've got nowhere to turn for probably 40 minutes after this in a changing the pace of the game, changing the the difference of type of bowler. It's got to be spin, spin or spin from the next period of play, which possibly you might have started with a spin and kept one of the big lads in reserve just in case you needed to go through the gears.
Stokes with an aborted run-up as Pujara has spotted something or somebody encroaching upon his line of sight. He comes down the pitch and remonstrates with perhaps the officials or the people that are supposed to be keeping spectators away from the sight screen. All is well as Stokes goes charging in once more, and that's a beautiful delivery just outside off stump. Pujara judges the line and the length beautifully and allows it to pass by, but tiny bit of movement away from the bat from Ben Stokes. And if indeed, Gareth, if England do manage to get the ball to reverse or to make something happen as it gets beyond the 20 over mark, they have nobody else to bowl with it. Just selection has been horrendous these last two test matches, as badly as England have batted. But the thinking seems to be increasingly muddled, and how much of that goes into rest periods and bubble life, who knows. And again, it's short from Stokes. Pujara drops the hands once more. Ben Stokes takes it behind the stumps. It's another maiden, third one on the bounce. India still 34 for 1. And just in summary, India 171 runs behind. Rohit is 17 not out. Pujara 15 not out. In reply to England's 205, Ben Stokes was the highest scorer for England, 55 from 121, his second half century of the series. Dan Lawrence, who came in as a specialist batsman, batting at number 7. England would be thankful for those 46 that he made from 74 deliveries. Ollie Pope battled hard as well for 29. Akshar Patel, who now has 22 wickets in just 5 innings of Test match cricket, was the star for India once more. As Anderson is in, attacking the stumps this time. Rohit pushes forward. The ball doesn't bounce a great deal, comes off the bottom of the bat, heads out towards mid-on, and again there's no run.
Butch, I was looking up specialist number 7s recently because there haven't been very many in the last 20 years of Test cricket, believe it or not.
Graham Hick did it quite a lot for England in the 90s, I seem to remember, I remember batting at 3 with somebody like Graham Hick batting at 7 behind me, thinking, what is going on here? Talking of bat selection. Rohit on the front foot, middle of the bat to mid-off, no run.
What are they saying about you at 3 if you need someone at 7 behind you?
Well, exactly.
So it doesn't happen that often. Bangladesh have done it occasionally because they've had some weaker batting lineups and they've tried to make it strong. But basically, in the last 20 years, almost all the time that it's been done by a batsman has been Joss Buttler.
And go on then. Now that you've thrown that out there, you're going to have to find out what the specialist number 7 average is.
It's a very hard one to do because
in goes Anderson, and Rohit plays at one that perhaps he might not have done. Comes off the outside edge of the bat and runs away between gully and a backward point. On best dives to his left, and there's no run once more.
Because you do actually have to go through and put a line through everyone's name of, oh, well, that guy, like JP Duminy, for instance, he played as a number 7 quite a bit, but he was also there because he occasionally wanted to throw in the ball for 10 overs a game. So is he a specialist number 7 at that point?
Well, I remember John Crawley did it actually in the Ashes series 2002-3. I'm not sure how many Test matches. As Anderson is in once more, and again Rohit forward. He just looks like he's got all of the time in the world to play that defensive stroke to mid-on, and there's no run.
Dean Jones, I think, made his debut batting at 7. I think he batted behind Rod Marsh as well, which is, perhaps someone thought slightly more of Rod Marsh's batting at that point.
I tell you what, we've banged out some number 7s here, haven't we? God, I wish we had a number 7 like that. No offence to Lawrence, he's a wonderful young player, but wow, we banged out some names.
New player, him. God rest his soul, Dean Jones. As Anderson once more is wide of the off stump, and Rohit lets it pass. Really good period of dot balls here for England, as though they're just waiting for something to give, but India don't appear to be in any sort of hurry whatsoever, and why would they be? They feel that they can bat for the next 2 days and if possible win the game quite comfortably, so they are not being suckered in to chasing after anything wide from Anderson. And perhaps they're just waiting for England's spin twins to be brought into the attack, as that one is wide once more. Carry through to Ben Folkes is not great. The ball dying on its way through to the England keeper. Another maiden for England. I think that's the 4th on the bounce. Lead is still 171, and India remain 34 for 1.
Yeah, normally you would say back-to-back maidens is a big sort of turning point in the game, or in that little period of play. 4 on the bounce, you'd say, wow, there's a wicket coming at any moment. But just in this isolated period, you're just saying that there's a lot of nice leave balls where they're not having to think too hard about leaving the ball. And like you said, Butch, you just feel like Rohit and Pujara are just wanting to wear down the 2 seamers for England, because England have nowhere to go then. I don't think they're as fearful of the spin as yet, because we've not seen the massive turning, bouncing balls that we saw in previous 2 games. You just feel like this is a little bit... they're setting it up for some real hard graft for England, and taking England deep, which could be very, very painful for James Anderson particularly, and Ben Stokes and a few other bowlers, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's hard to see anything other than what you described play out as Jack Leach takes his cap off and looks as though he's going to have his first bowl of the day. You are listening to commentary of the 4th Test between India and England on TalkSport 2 with the Times and the Sunday Times cricket team writing with an edge. A man who has no edge, no sides, but plenty of informative and entertaining chat is Neil Manthorpe. Manners, very good morning to you, old boy.
Morning, Butch. Well, we do have no sides. Oh, you've gone. I turned you off. India 34 for 1. Pujara is largely shotless. 15 off 58 deliveries, but he's batting time. It's what he does. It's his speciality. It's his proven worth to this Indian team over many years. And Rohit Sharma is also batting well within himself, a long way within himself. 17 off 66 deliveries, and it is Jack Leach. Oh dear, hello. That first delivery. What's gone wrong there? Rolled that 2 foot down the leg side. Got stuck in his hand.
I think he very much has it on his radar that he wants to bowl that fraction straighter line, and all it is just no different to a fast bowler. Just needs to get the muscle memory back. No damage, still a dot ball.
Is that direct or indirect?
I don't know. I'm saying, looking at the action there, I just saw do you know what? Bizarrely, that's a little bit direct, isn't it? He's fired it there, which I'm saying is a real positive from a coaching point of view. I'm saying that's just fractionally off.
I think the umpire's been caught so off guard that he's forgotten to call it as a wide. It's 2 foot down the leg side.
Give over.
Here is Leach once again, and punched off the back foot now by Pujara, just for a single to Zach Crawley, sweeping on the cover boundary. He couldn't really have played a shot at it. Really.
If the fast bowlers are allowed a little sighter, then so are the spinners. We need to encourage the lads.
But I agree. I'm not complaining. I just think the umpire probably just like rubbing his eyes. It just didn't occur to him. Right, India 35 for 1. Pujara now with that single moves on 16. England certainly have kept a very, very tight rein on the scoring. Here's Leach once more. Forward comes Rohit Sharma, pushing it up on the offside. I mean, the scoring rate's 1.5 and over.
Yeah, they've held the game very nicely, England, but the wickets column hasn't changed. That's the worry, and that's the ominous signs for later on in the day.
35 for 1. Jack Leach has a slip and a short leg in place. That's beautiful work from Folkes. He's just gone past the outside edge, and Ben Folkes has whipped the bails off so quickly.
He really has got better and better in the series, Leach. He's bowled that straighter line more consistently. Saw a little puff of dust as that one angles in, pitches about middle stump, and sharply spins past the outside edge. Sharma, sorry.
Rohit Sharma on strike, and the Leach comes in once again, and Rohit Sharma forward nudges out one of Johnny Bairstow at mid-on, and they trot through for another single. There was a sort of an ooh and an ah from Rohit Sharma. He sort of sucked air through clenched teeth as that one fizzed past the outside edge, and it's maybe entirely natural reaction, but he might have been just hamming it up a little bit as well, saying, "Oh, you boys, well, we've got 3 spinners in the second innings." Here is Leach once again. Oh, and another beautiful delivery from Jack Leach, which is, I think, just hit the pad of Pujara and deflected to Ben Stokes at slip, but again, sharp turn. Very encouraging signs, apart from the first delivery for Jack Leach. Akash Chopra's on the line. Akash, clearly India in no hurry, and they have no reason to be. Morning.
Absolute. Good morning to you too. And yes, this was a bit of a testing session. There is some amount of help for the faster bowlers, and I was listening to the commentary as well that some of it was harmless because it was just too wide outside off. But you know that you need to bite this time, and once you do, and you also have the knowledge that there is only one James Anderson as a threat in the fast bowling department. There is no Oli Stone, Mark Wood, or Jofra Archer who would change that rhythm a little bit. So you know that if you just dig in your heels, you could be here for a long time. So Indians are doing exactly what they should be doing. Just be watchful to begin with. It's a great saying, isn't it? Give first half an hour to the bowlers and then rest 5.5 hours are yours. So I think that's the diktat that these two are following.
Might be very hard work for Jimmy Anderson. The most overs that Jimmy Anderson has bowled in an innings in a test match in India is 31, and he's done it twice in 2008 and 2012. 31 overs in an innings. He could threaten that number once again. Here's Ben Stokes continuing, and he's bowling better and better, you feel, as forward comes Rohit Sharma to the first delivery and pushes it up towards mid-off.
Yeah, just going back to the Leach over, I think it was a beautiful start, and the first ball almost set it up. It's almost like a darts player. You're going for double top, you miss the outside of the board to then work your way back in, which what he did with the first ball going down the leg side and then bowled that beautiful line going into middle stump. But the last ball of the over actually just took the edge and hit Ben Stokes sort of on the thigh, which took the pace off the ball so it wouldn't carry to slip. Really encouraging signs there for Jack Leach, and the line that he's bowling. The line is crucial for him. He's got to challenge those stumps.
Short ball pulled away by Rohit Sharma behind square on the leg side to Ollie Pope at deep backward square. Yes, at the time I said that I thought the ball had hit the batsman's pad, but it was a genuine edge, and that's an encouraging sign. As you said, Jack Leach just getting enough turn to find the outside edge. It's one of my favourite sayings from Anil Kumble, who when asked why he didn't turn the ball much, said you only need to turn it 2 inches. Anything more is a waste. India 37 for 1 as Ben Stokes continues in, as I said, what has been an increasingly threatening spell, getting quicker and quicker. This one hits the pad of Teshwar Pujara, and they scurry through for a leg bye. So 5.5 hours, Akash. You reckon India? Well, I must say there's probably a very good chance they will bat all day.
And a bit of tomorrow as well is what I'm expecting, because this is a surface where you should bat about five sessions, and if they won't, they'll be regretting. They'll be kicking themselves if they're not able to do that on this surface.
Here is Stokes once again. Was there a little bit of swing in? Maybe can't be reverse swing, surely. It certainly seems to just trail back into Rohit Sharma. You sound like you'd rather be out there, Akash, than in the commentary box. You're licking your lips at this pitch.
No, I'm pretty fine in my cozy com box, but this is a surface that you look forward to play on when you are in India, where spin is not a threat, fast bowlers can be negated. This is a surface where there's even bounce, even pace. What else do you want as a batsman?
Stokes in once again, and that's full and drivable, and it's pushed firmly by Rohit Sharma to backward point. Dom Bess does the fielding. Do you think that there'll be a concerted effort to attack Dom Bess, perhaps, and you know, with the uncertainty of his place in the 11, often the opposition will target somebody like him, a young man. Do you think that Rohit Sharma, for example, might take him on?
He will, and that will be just the natural flow of the game, because he likes to go after the spinners, and Dom Bess is likely to give you those opportunities as well.
Stokes in again, bouncer, harmless one, very, very short, way over the batsman's head. 23 overs gone, India 38 for 1. But time is all India's, and they've bowled England out for 205. So they don't need to attack him, do they? They can just take their happy time and bat for bat for 10 hours.
No, that's the thing. So that's what I feel, that Dom Bess, with the inconsistency with regards to just the discipline, not questioning his skills, he gives you opportunities to score. So even if you're not trying too hard, you would still be scoring at 3.5 runs and over against Dom Bess on a surface like this. So that's what you expect. And as a batsman, you also identify threats. When you're playing against Jack Leach, you need to be a bit more cautious. When you're playing against Dom Bess, you can loosen up a little bit. So that's the kind of batting tactic, the batting plan will be throughout the day, is what I feel. And it'll be interesting how Root uses himself. Will he be bowling? If yes, how much? It'll be interesting to see.
Jack Leach continues, and forward comes Pujara. He struck on the pad outside the line of off stump. Now he took a step and a half down the pitch. Jack Leach is saying, please review. Oh, no, no, he's not. He's saying he hit it. He's asking whether he hit it. He's asking Ben Folkes whether Pujara got an edge. But this is classic modern DRS, isn't it, Gareth Baddy? Because he's taken a step and a half down the pitch. It used to be that the batsman was safe, and not anymore.
Yeah, there's an amount of doubt here. It did look like he just squeezed it between bat and pad, and was it bat first? Has he got outside the line? Is he that 3 metres down? I think just looking at the replay now, he's just squeezed it into his pad off the inside edge of the bat, which is part of Pujara's skill.
Well, they've decided not to review, and it did look like there was an inside edge. Pujara 16 off 63 balls. Here is Leach once again, nudged away through square leg, and they take an easy single. What did you make of that, Akash?
Not out, yes, and what you said is right. Like 10 years ago, this wouldn't have been discussed at all with regards to appealing and actually positively thinking that there is a wicket available when the batsman has stepped down. But now with the DRS, you want to take your chances at times. But then the 3 metre mark still belongs to the umpire. That's something that you have to bear in mind while reviewing these.
India 39 for 1. Leach in once again, short leg and a slip. That's a quicker one. That's significantly quicker, and it's left alone outside the off stump. Is that a hard and fast rule, that 3 metre, Akash? I mean, it used to be a guideline for the third umpire.
I think it is what it is. It's the umpire's call after that. If there is 3 metres, it's the umpire's call, and then it stays with the umpire's decision.
Leach in again, flicked away up to Johnny Bairstow at mid-on, just wide of Johnny Bairstow at mid-on. He had to make 3 or 4 yards to pick it up, and therefore they go through for a single. So Gareth, if the batsman runs down the pitch and he gets 3 metres away from his stumps, he's safe. Is it hard and fast?
That's how I read it, yes.
I thought it was still at the umpire's discretion. That's pushed away by Pujara.
He's not safe. If he's given out, he can still be given out. But
right.
what Akash is saying is that it goes with umpire's call at that point. If you're more than 3 metres down. So you could still be given out by the umpire on the field if he thinks that you are still out LBW.
Here is Jack Leach once again. Another appeal. Carbon copy, and up goes the finger this time. Pujara has immediately reviewed it. It was a carbon copy of the previous one, which they decided not to review. This time,
review for leg before, fair delivery.
Nitin Menon, the umpire, has given it out, and Pujara's immediately reviewed.
There's 2 noises again, isn't there? It's like he's squeezed it again with bat and pad. So which one it's hit first?
Oh, it does look like pad first. I tell you what a piece of umpiring if he's got this right. I mean, yes. We're talking about fraction of a second before the ball deflects from the pad onto the bat, and the umpire appears to have it absolutely spot.
Ball
Well,
tracking, please.
provided the ball's hitting
Ball
the
tracking,
stumps,
please.
then he's made an incredible decision.
Yeah, stand by.
Akash?
Stand by.
Looks out to me, to be honest. And yes, a good piece of umpiring.
Ball tracking coming, boys.
Umpiring on these surfaces, of course, this is a good one, but generally,
Stand by.
it's tougher to officiate umpire on surfaces
Hitting
where
in
the ball
line.
is turning a lot. This
Impacting
one will
line.
be given out.
Hitting. Go to on-feet umpire.
I tell you what, it's hitting halfway up, just over
Hitting.
halfway
You're on
up,
screen.
middle and off.
Stay with your ball.
I think he's had a brilliant series. He is the India's senior umpire, Nitin Menon, but I think it's hard to give him too much credit for that piece of umpiring.
Yeah, but I suppose it's look at the whole picture and what is Jack Leach trying to do, what's he trying to achieve. He's got a decent idea that he's trying to get the ball straight, so when the ball is pitching between the tram lines, literally, he's got the two things to worry about. Is it going on to hit the stumps? Has it spun too much? Is the first one, and then secondly, is there a little bit of bat involved with Pujara playing a little bit bat and pad together? He sees the pad first, it hits the pad, it's hitting the stumps. Brilliant decision. I think it's a fine piece of bowling from Jack Leach, and I think he started so well today. It's so difficult for him, it's not natural for him to be angling the ball to middle stump and even the inside of middle, but he's trying to bowl that bit straighter with less balls going through that sort of corridor, pitching off stump and going through without as much challenge to the batsman, to the keeper. He's bowled that bit straighter and he's got his rewards early, very early on in the piece. The big wicket of Pujara, the man that can bat all day, the wall for India, has gone for 17, 40 for 2, and Leach is right into his business, which is great for England.
You're listening to commentary on the fourth Test match between India and England here on TalkSport 2 with the Times and the Sunday Times cricket team, led by the excellent Lizzie Ammon and former England captains Michael Atherton and Sir Alistair Cook. Rohit Sharma still there on 20 from 76 balls, with Virat Kohli having come to the crease now, and Jack Leach. How does a spinner prepare when he knows that he might have to bowl all day? Do you think he would have slept well last night? Big breakfast?
Don't know. You'd certainly having a decent evening meal, but I reckon it's a bit of a restless sleep because you're formulating your plans for each batter. And I know Jack's not the he's a thinker. He'll be caught up in the moment. He'll be caught up in the game. He'll be caught up in his role within the game. You will sleep, of course you will, because it's 30 odd degrees and you've had full days in the sun leading up to the game and during the game. So there's an amount of tiredness running through the body physically. But I would suggest for him it's more the mental pressure of being the number one spinner in a massive series. England, can they get out of it with a 2-all draw, and which will be an incredible feat, and he will feel that pressure and he'll want to be the man that can rise to the occasion. So it would be an intermittent sleep, I reckon, for him.
Well, the players or the umpires decided that they would use the opportunity of the fall of the wickets to have a drink, and now we're back underway. Ben Stokes is continuing full and wide outside the off stump, and it's once again left alone by Rohit Sharma. Stokes has had a longer spell here than I was expecting. Anyway, I thought that Joe Root would want to always make sure that Ben Stokes had something in the tank throughout the day. Mind you, I mean he's a freak, isn't he? I mean, in terms of he's the Duracell battery. He'll just go on and on and on and on.
Yeah, there's an amount of trying to map out the next 5 hours, though.
Stokes bangs it in, back of a length, and up onto his toes goes Rohit Sharma. Yeah, that's why I thought that he wouldn't bowl longer than 3 or 4 overs.
Yeah, and I suppose that's where. And don't get me wrong, there's always two ways to skin a cat, but I wouldn't have gone the two big lads up front, purely because you're all in, your chips are all in. You're asking one of them to take himself to breaking point, to carry on and extend that period of fast bowling at one end. Whereas if you'd have started with a spinner and a fast, then you've still got somewhere to go. You've still got some chips to use if you want. If they'd have got 2 for this morning, it wouldn't have mattered.
Here is Stokes again. Oh, hello. Rohit Sharma tries to leave this one alone and doesn't take his bat out of the way in time. And it actually hits a full face of the bat and runs, well, all the way along the ground into the slip cordon. But Rohit was certainly very, very tardy, very slow in removing the bat.
Just a beautiful line, wasn't it, from Stokes? We've seen him just get a little bit of movement either way, whether it be in or out. He's predominantly gone away from the batsman, and this one just angled in a little bit, asking the question, do you need to play it? Can you leave it?
Stokes again. Oh, that's swung in again. It's left alone by Rohit Sharma, and it's got very, very close to the off stump by the time he's left it alone.
And again, a tentative movement. It's not often you say that about Rohit Sharma. He's elegant, he's beautiful to watch, but he's sort of got his press, he's moving his left foot forward, and then he's having to go again because he's covering his stumps. Should I hit it? Am I leaving it? In this instance, he gets his hands up and out of the way and gets his left foot just outside off stump with the ball creeping in, just testing the varnish on the stumps there. Beautiful piece of bowling again from Stokes.
2 slips and a gully still in place. It shows there's still some pace in this pitch, and that one is again just left alone outside the off stump, and India remain 40 for 2. Just beginning to wonder and getting the impression that that Ben Stokes is, I mean, he hasn't had any bowling rhythm at all. He's bowled 15 overs in 3 test matches before this, but he's now really into some rhythm, and I just kind of feel like he might want to keep going now.
He's a long spell bowler, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's why he has the injury problems. The more he bowls, the better he feels, and he wants to do the long stuff. The 10 over spells, the 9 over spells, whatever.
And this one is a little bit too wide. He's got that one wrong. He was trying to do something beyond my expertise, but he just made the action to suggest that he was trying to get his wrist in a different position with that last delivery, but it's 1.5 foot wide of the off stump and it's left alone. 25 overs gone, 40 for 2. Another word from Jared Kimber, and then a double change. It'll be Darren Goff and Mark Nicholas.
Just looking at Leach versus Pujara, in this series, Leach has bowled 89 balls to him. Pujara scored 61 runs and been out 4 times for an average of 15. Before this, against left-arm finger spin, Pujara had faced 1,862 balls of it in Test match cricket and was averaging 160 against left-arm finger spin. And that includes 344 balls from Rangana Harath that he never was dismissed at.
You see, Leachy, the cult.
That's incredible, isn't it? I was shocked.
Impressive.
I looked it up 4 times. I kept thinking I was seeing it wrong. But
yeah, it's impressive because if you canvassed English cricket fans on who'd most likely stand in their way on the tour of India, you'd have probably got an even vote between Kohli and Pujara, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would, but I think we've got to take into consideration, you look at both teams, they both struggle to bat on it when the ball's been spinning.
Well, here he is.
Spin.
Leachy runs into bowl now, tad short. Kohli goes back. First ball he faced, and he pushes it to cover, but doesn't get a run for it. When he's in, he hit that ball. Actually, it was a bit short, but another important pair together here. Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma, the 2 most naturally gifted players in the Indian side. And Kohli, by any standards, I think of a great player. I know it's an overused word, but I think it can be applied to Kohli as he waits for Leach, and he goes forward. He's talked a lot as he defends on the front foot safely about defensive technique and how it's not what it was. He thinks that not enough batsmen have focused on the true methods and techniques of defence. It'd be interesting to watch him today. He's played a couple of good defensive innings in this series. Here's Jack Leach again, and he bowls a good ball. Kohli plays a very orthodox and well organised forward defensive shot. He's always got a sense of energy and purpose about him as he tugs on helmet and brushes the ground with his bat, waves his arms around. He's wearing a short sleeve shirt, a sweatband, as is his way. He waits in his orthodox stance, feet quite wide apart in that stance. Now he picks up the bat and goes forward, wants to squeeze a single out of it to point, but the England fielders are alert and there's no run. Kohli has his look, his eyes, the mouth, the pointed conclusion to the beard that hangs quite low now beneath his chin. Enormously fit. He waits and he plays yet another forward defensive. It's a credit to Jack Leach that every ball has demanded one of those, some from slightly straighter balls than others, but certainly an over of competition between two men who appear to want to give nothing to the other. And left alone just outside off stump. Good over from Jack Leach to Virat Kohli. Keeps him on naught, which is important. 40 for 2 at the end of it. Rohit Sharma has 20, Goffey.
I think the good thing about Jack Leach, I think, is the way he's improved as the series has gone on. I mean, he's terrific revs on it. He's getting the ball through. It's a good pace compared to that first test where he was just probably a little bit slow. But if you see at the pace he's bowling it now, it's up there, same as Axar Patel. And he's looking dangerous, and he's bowled really, really well throughout this series. We've been talking about him. He's had nice pitches to bowl on. There's no getting away from that. I think Indian batsmen have struggled as well when the ball's turned. But we just need a partner now. We need, when Dom Best gets his opportunity. I know Ben Stokes has bowled a nice little spell here, got a nice little bit of shape, got into some kind of rhythm just in time for the one-day games. But it'll be interesting to see what Dom Best does when they're ball in tandem.
Here he comes again, Stokes, with his longer hair these days, flowing back from the top of his forehead. A drive from Rohit Sharma that was a bit uppish. Orthodox gully, actually wouldn't have carried to orthodox gully either, but there's a man at deep gully or backward point, whatever you want to call it, and it didn't reach him probably on the second bounce, I should think.
To be fair, he's played a couple uppish there, you know. I mean, it might be worth to Rohit Sharma having a guy really close in on that line. I think that's the second time now to Ben Stokes where the ball has gone aerial towards
a close square gully, because at the moment their gully fielder really is a fourth slip. Yeah, he's very behind square, that point fielder. That's where the ball went. Stokes again now, bangs it in, and oh, look at that. I mean, please, he just rocks back, one knee up in the air a la Gordon Greenwich, and flicks it away, albeit for a single only, but it's played with the minimum of fuss by Rohit Sharma, which will bring Kohli on to strike. Now, Stokes' only wicket in the series is Virat Kohli, so he won't mind bowling at him, and Kohli will be aware of the problems that Stokes causes, that little bit of movement from a full length with the odd bouncer, odd ball to force you back. Kohli, who takes his guard out of his ground, his feet are a couple of inches just in front of that topping crease as Stokes steams in now. And he makes Kohli play a very straight ball, and Kohli plays it well, actually. Watching it, nods to Stokes as if to say, yep, good ball, good ball.
Well, if you're going to bowl at Virat Kohli, you want to be when he first comes to the crease. You don't want to be bowling him when he's 50 and 60 not out, do you? So it's a good time to bowl, and I think that's why he's probably given Ben Stokes another over to see if he can dismiss the Indian spinner. Averages over 50 in Test cricket. A sensational player. I've really enjoyed watching him this series on some difficult conditions. But we know Ben Stokes, he has got that golden arm.
Well, he has. So there's two titans of the modern era head to head here. Oh yes, beauty from Stokes. He's done it. Got one to really bounce, and Kohli playing at it has nicked it through to Ben Folks. That's fabulous fast bowling.
Well, we talk about the golden arm, didn't we? And just as that came out of my mouth, he absolutely bowled his best delivery of the series so far. Back of a length, good heat into it, aggression at the crease, good bounce. Kohli followed it and straight through to Ben Stokes, taking the ball above his head. Terrific wicket, huge wicket for England. England, like the last Test match, are making a comeback. They're fighting.
Well, their fighting qualities, I don't suppose we've ever doubted that. We might be wishing they had another seamer in the side in a minute, but that's a different story. It's so big to get Kohli like that for nothing. I mean, it's just massive, massive, massive. A boost to everybody. It's a boost to the guys out, boost to Folks, number one. The guys out in the middle, two. The whole of the dressing room, three. The whole of English cricket, the ECB, all the people around English cricket, the selectors, and all supporters, when they wake up and see that Stokes got Kohli cheap, everybody is lifted by that and sees hope.
But what it does as well, I mean, it was terrific captaincy, let's be honest about it. He has bowled a few overs. He hasn't bowled many overs over the past 12 months, Ben Stokes. He's probably a little bit jaded, but we've seen over his period so far as a Test cricketer, but he does get better the more overs he bowls. And his captain's kept him on to Virat Kohli, knowing he's just come to the crease, and that's when you're at your most vulnerable. And he's took him with him. He's gone for a 0. Virat Kohli, that's his second note of the series, by the way. That doesn't happen very often.
I just wonder if Root kind of thought, I don't mean it sort of aggressively, but he probably thought, you said you were up for this role, being our second seamer, our new ball bowler. Now this morning you've got to prove it to me because you have to bowl some overs. He did have a stomach problem yesterday. And he looked, to me, even when he batted, he looked off colour. He didn't really use his feet much. He stood very still, played very quietly and within himself. And then he bowled pretty gently by his standards. His interview at the close of play was very low-key. Truth is, he wasn't up for a chat. And so maybe he just feels better today. After all, we all get out of bed a different way. 41 for 3. England fighting, as Goffey says. Oh, imagine another one now, quickly, with the rampant Stokes. 2 slips in the gully, 3 in the cover ring. Cover, mid-wicket, long leg. Absolutely sort of orthodox field. You'd think it was a Saturday afternoon in the leagues. Somewhere in the middle England. Bit of grass in the pitch, get a couple of slips in. Keep the quicks on.
It brings another player to the crease who's struggled to get runs this series as well, Rahane.
Yeah, Ajinkya Rahane has taken his guard, flexes his knees, lifts his back, and has bowled a very good ball by Stokes. Actually, he plays it nicely. It swings into him, and on the front foot, he pushes it to mid-on. Oh, that was a Jaffa to Kohli, wasn't it?
Oh, unbelievable delivery. Really, that back of a length. There's a little bit of bounce in this pitch. We've talked about it, haven't we? From day one, from ball one to the seamer, there's been carry there. If you're a fast bowler coming to India and you see this pitch, you see a little bit of carry, like I say, you'll be licking your lips. You won't mind bowling here with a new ball. Even with an old ball, it's got a bit of carry.
There he is again, and that's a too full. And actually, in its way, rather gentle because it was so full. And so Rahane just drops his bat on it, and there's no run. Oh, what a good over from Ben Stokes. 41 for 3 are India, so still a long way behind England with Rahane new to the crease. Much depends again on Rohit Sharma.
What I'd like to see now is that Ben Stokes might want one more, as always, or he might say, thanks very much, you've done me a great job there, you got the captain out, bring Jimmy Anderson back in and let him have a ball now, because from that end, I honestly believe there's more bounce bowling from the end that Ben Stokes has bowled from.
It does appear to be. Yeah, okay. Well, I'd certainly give Stokes one more. If he's physically strong enough for it, not feeling sick and all that, I'd definitely give him another. I think you feed off the back of a wicket like Kohli. And I also think that these guys, you know, these Flintoffs and Bothams and Stokeses, put them in a situation like this, when the side is relatively helpless and there's a champion at the other end, they're the man for the job, you know. Kohli, okay, Stokes suddenly produces by far the most vicious ball that he's bowled. Get Sharma down that end, let Stokes have a go at him. It's going to be my cult hero Jack Leach to bowl to Rohit Sharma. A slip is in place, short mid-wicket as he bowls a full flighted ball, and Rohit Sharma slaps it out to deep cover for a single.
Been a good session this has for England. Really made India battle for every single run. Managed to pick up a couple of wickets, couple of big wickets as well. Virat Kohli and Pujara, two fantastic players for India. But Ben Stokes, absolute golden arm. You can't keep him out of the game, and he's had a quiet series really, hasn't he? But we keep thinking there's one moment where he's just going to have a moment of brilliance and do something quite sensational.
Well, I'll take a couple of 50s and a 5 for. How about that? Sound all right? As back goes Rahane and defends a good ball. There's no doubt that Leach is trying to bowl it a little more directly into the pitch, not to throw it up quite so high. The smaller men tend to bowl it up, the taller men tend to bowl it directly into the pitch. He's trying to meet that idea somewhere in the middle. See if he can get more out of it. There it is again, and back goes Rahane defending, and Stokes gives him a lot of applause and really likes it and sort of says, yeah, that's the pace, like it, like
absolutely. And that's a good sign for England, the way Jack Leach has developed as this tour's gone on. I really do. I think he's bowled really, really well throughout this tour.
Yeah, so do I. That's a nice ball too. A little more flighted, that one, and forward comes Rahane, and England around the bat all go ooh and ah. But there wasn't. It came off the middle of the bat.
He was going to pad it up. He was going to leave that originally.
Yeah, okay.
It was a late decision to put bat and ball.
Oh, well, he's lucky he made the late decision, because if that had hit him without offering a shot, he'd have been in some trouble, as it didn't spin. 4 balls of the over gone, just a single from the first. It's a bit short, too easy to play away through the covers, out to the man fielding there. Zach Crawley runs in from the square cover boundary. Yeah, that's the only area that Leach has leaked a few. I think they want him to bowl more middle stump, get it in there a bit tighter and straighter, and see if he can get the Indian batsman to play across the line. At the moment it's easy for them to stay leg side of the ball. There's the line, exactly there, and it's a nice defensive stroke from Rohit Sharma, who didn't mess with trying to work it leg side. 43 for 3, Rahane just a single, now Rohit 22.
Interesting field settings actually from Joe Root. He's trying to stop some of the boundaries, isn't he? The bad balls. He's set a field a little bit for that. I think when you're looking at Jack Leach bowling left arm, he's thinking if he's going to bowl it at that speed, the odd one might just bowl a little bit shorter. So if he's going to get it, it's going to be a cut shot to the right-hander. So they put a man out there on place. To the seamers, when Ben Stokes is bowling, he's got a man out on the hook, stopping that. If Ben Stokes decides to let him have a short one, he's got a man out there stopping the boundary. And I think he's had a man out on the offside, hasn't he, as well, to Rohit Sharma. So they're really trying to dry the runs up here, England. It's been a terrific morning for him so far. Obviously Anderson as miserly as ever. Ben Stokes has got better as he's bowled more overs. And Jack Leach has been fantastic.
Well, that's all very positive. So if you've just woken up, the news is that England have taken a couple of wickets this morning and bowled very tidily. Here's a Stokes now steaming in at Rahane, who stands up tall and like a boxer returning the jab. Knocks it into the covers, wants a run, sets off, is sent back by an ever alert to Rohit Sharma. England have offered mainly good lines and lengths. There hasn't been that much movement, but there's been enough, I'd say, to keep bowlers interested and batsmen honest. And the real news of the morning is that the big pair, I suppose you'd say, prior to the series anyway, Pujara and Kohli, have both been dismissed, both by good bits of bowling. Here's Stokes again to Rahane. The great thing about Ajinkya Rahane is temperament. As he plays that down into the gully safely, he doesn't tend to get ruffled under pressure, so the situation of losing 2 quick wickets this morning won't phase him out. What he hasn't got at the moment is his best rhythm in finding runs. He's a very good puller of the ball. Well, England haven't offered much short, and he just needs a bit of time at the crease. Made a very good 60 a couple of tests ago. He needs time at the crease, as so many, however good they are, they need that time at the crease. Stokes bowls another ball banged into the pitch that Rahane rather sort of rocks back as he defends it and knocks it down into the gully. Stokes trying to find the same sort of ball with which he got Virat Kohli, one that really flew from back of a length, and he was playing it up at chest height and got a thin edge off the shoulder of the bat through to Ben Foakes. No doubt that Stokes is at his best when he's mixing up that pounding of the pitch back of a length and then a bit of swing, bit of reverse often when it's a bit fuller. Here he comes again. Oh, he bowls a real sucker ball which Rahane resists, a wide outswinger left alone.
He might have thrown that air on purpose, Ben. He doesn't mind bowling for wickets. Let's say he doesn't go for many runs when he's bowling that back of a length. He's quicker than a lot of people would expect, Ben Stokes. He hits the bat hard, but now and again he has been known to throw it up there, letting the batsman
definitely did it on purpose.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Especially with slips in place.
It was a yard wider than he meant it to be, but bowls again, and Rahane's back and defends again. So some of these balls have a Groundhog Day element to them, because Ben likes to hit that mid-wicket pitch, middle of the wicket pitch, pitching length, and the defence is good. His back, Rahani's pretty good on both feet.
Yeah, they're good players, aren't they? But they've struggled this series. I think both teams with a bat. But what we're seeing here is a fantastic test cricket. We've got a pitch that's got a bit of pacing, and if you bend your bat, you're going to get a little bit of a reward. The spinners are in the game, but if you get in as a batsman, there's plenty of scoring opportunities. It's a proper test match.
Good length, good line, good forward defence. End of that Stokes over, 43 for 3. He's got the old flopping hair, but which it's a bit like the lads in the, in the army. You have their in the old days, who had their hair cut short in the 50s actually. After people had the hair quite short at the sides, and then they had that sort of floppy bit at the front that used to come over. No, I know I'm not having a dig at all. You've had a bit of a
he's lost it once. You don't want to lose it again.
No, quite. No, it looks good.
You don't want to have it cut.
I'm pro it. I'm completely pro it. But that's just the look that he's got, and it's such a different look, isn't it, for him, from someone who was.
I think he's quite happy with that look.
Yeah,
compared to where he was at 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Just they thought he was going in. I remember seeing him. He looked like Butch.
Anyway, you're listening to commentary of the fourth test between India and England on TalkSport 2 with the Times and the Sunday Times cricket team writing with an edge. Over to you, Mark Butcher.
And there's nothing wrong with that, Darren Gough. Certainly didn't have to waste any time in front of the mirror before coming to work this morning on the Barnet. 43 for 3, India, and Jack Leach is in to Rohit Sharma, who advances and rather traps the ball between pad and bat. There's a half appeal for England, but Rohit's a long way down. I'd be very surprised if Joe Root could be persuaded to review this one. And indeed, as the DRS timer ticks down with a couple of seconds to go, Root heads back towards extra cover, and there will be nothing further doing. It's been good from England the last half an hour, 40 minutes or so. They were very tight with Anderson and Stokes early on as Leach is in, and Rohit Sharma just takes a little shimmy, opens up the blade, lofts it over extra cover for a boundary, and Rohit is awakened. He moves to 26, 47 for 3.
To be fair, he's been wanting to do that for a while, Rohit Sharma. He came down the previous ball, which got him on the pad. This one, he got right to the pitch of it, into out, over extra cover. One of my favourite shots, that, to watch. When you played one of them yourself in the nets or something, you used to think, I'm in the game here. That's a nice little shot. Beautiful stroke there from Rohit Sharma. And I think we might see a few more of them, actually, to try and change this momentum. England have been on top this morning. India need to do something about it, Butch.
Yeah, indeed. Men spread a little bit more for Leach, man on the cover boundary as he comes into Rohit, who rather waits for the ball to arrive and then with an angled bat guides it backward a point on the offside, and there's no run. And at some point England have to turn to Don Bess. One of the characteristics, I think, of Don Bess in the test match cricket that I've seen him play over the last, since the South Africa tour back at the beginning of 2020, is that he's tenacious. That's perilously close. Rohit leaves the ball pitching just outside off stump, and it just runs on dead straight and probably misses off stump by about an inch.
Good lead then. Absolutely terrifically. Good bit of bowling from Jack Leach. Again, good speed. Just held its line, didn't it? I think Ben Fox played a few mind games there. They just made it look as though it had just gone over top of off stump. Carried on going towards the stumps as he took the ball.
3 inches, maybe. That ball has turned and bounced, and Foakes takes it quite beautifully and then takes the bails off as Rohit Sharma lost his balance a little bit and shuffled away towards the leg side, but I think at all times he had at least 1 foot on the ground behind the crease. England not interested in reviewing as umpire Virender Sharma comes to replace the bails. But there's a little bit happening here. It's a surface more like the sort that you might find perhaps somewhere like Mumbai, where there's a bit of bounce and carry for the seam bowlers. There is turn, yes, It's not lavish by any means, but the bounce is consistent. As Leach is in once more, pitching that one on leg stump. Rohit manages to keep the front pad out of the way, get the bat out in front and defends it into mid-wicket, and there's no run.
Nervous times this for India, because they're in a situation where we all know what's at stake. If they win the game, if they draw the game, Australia go through to that Test Championship final. So India batting the way they are now, they'll be thinking they don't want to be batting last on it. They're going to have to go by past England here and try and get 300 plus, and if they get that, it'd be very difficult from England to face the spinners of Patel and Ashwin on here, because we have seen it is only day 2, but I think once we start talking day 3 tea time onwards, we're going to see some vicious turn and bounce.
Yeah, just to clarify, it's very early in the morning, so just to clarify, India at the moment are in the World Test Championship final. If England were to win this Test match and draw the series, then Australia would go through, and we'd have an Antipodean affair at Lord's in June this summer. As Ben Stokes continues his marathon spell into Rahane, who has glided the ball off his hip down to long leg, and he will pick up a single. 2 runs for Rahane. Rohit is 26 not out. India 48 for 3. It's been slow going this morning. They started the day 24 for 1. Sharma was 8 not out. Pujara 15 not out. England leading by 181 before a ball was bowled. And India have managed to add just another 24 runs in 18.1 overs this morning, as England have applied the brakes. As Stokes is in once more. Huge inducker that is left by Rohit Sharma. Passes through to Ben Foakes, who takes it actually down the leg side, the ball having passed the off stump, and then continued swinging on as it went beyond the stumps to Ben Foakes, who shuffled nicely. Nice bit of footwork to his left to gather the ball probably about a yard down the leg side. 157 is the lead for England at the moment, and the game is nicely poised. Interesting to see what happens when Dom Bess gets the ball in his hand. He's been left out on 2 raging Buntsons, with the ball exploding through the top, and is now, that's hit Rohit Sharma on the head. Short ball from Ben Stokes, who just seems to be getting quicker and quicker in this spell. And Rohit, who needs no invitation to go for the hook shot, has been clanged on the helmet. He seems to be okay, but as is the protocol, umpires have called for the medical staff to come on the ground just to inspect that no damage has been done to the brain of Rohit Sharma. But that's a good short ball, Darren Goff.
Oh, right on the badge, wasn't it? Yeah, he's fine, Rohit Sharma. He's just having a little bit of a chuckle. But yeah, it's the right thing. Get checked out by the physio and the doctor. Have a drink. Just calm down. I said Ben Stokes has just got better and better as this morning's gone on. I mean, he started off, wasn't he, a little bit tentative, not hitting the crease as hard as he probably should have done. Started banging the ball in back of a length when he started to get the confidence and the rhythm started to come back. And we know when Ben Stokes bowls that length, he can get the ball through. How many times have I said he's a better bowler, Ben Stokes, than people give him credit for? He's not just a battering ram. He's not just someone who can run in, bowl 90 miles an hour bouncers. He's got huge skills, a lot of skills and control when he gets it right. And so far this morning, I think this might be his last over, by the way. He's bowled beautifully, absolutely.
Yeah.
Troubled all the batsmen.
It certainly has. 10.5 overs for Ben Stokes. The only break he's had this morning was for the change of ends. He started off in tandem with James Anderson, and then replaced Anderson when England's veteran all-time wicket taker was taken out of the attack. Ben Stokes replaced him and has since picked up the wicket of Virat Kohli. Kohli, of course, who'd been very vocal about criticisms of the surfaces the last 2 Test matches have played on, talking about poor batting technique. Well, he's just been dismissed by a short ball from Ben Stokes for naught, his second naught of the series. Came into it averaging just 34. Kinky Rahane, who at the other end to Rohit Sharma. comes in with a batting average of 17. And it's only Rohit Sharma and because of that double 100 in the first test match, Joe Root, who've averaged above 40 as specialist batsmen. Rohit averaging 60 and is looking every inch the class act for both sides in this innings so far. The ball just passing harmlessly by to Ben Stokes. No harm done to Rohit. We continue on, 49 for 3.
It's a good point, that, Butch, because I think realistically when you look at Indian batsmen, you think that they all kind of average between that 40 and 50 mark, the good players. Obviously Kohli's over 50, but I think when you look at England players, it's always that between 30 and 40.
Yeah, and England have struggled, as we know, down the leg side from Stokes.
So what you're saying is both teams have struggled this series because there's so many of them averaging under 20.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Shubman
Gill, sort of new young hope. I think he's a terrific player. He's averaged 19. Rahane, as I've said, 17. Pujara was 26 before he was dismissed this morning, so he'll be back down towards about 23, which is where he was before the series started. Kohli, averaging 34, has made naught today, so that's going downwards as well. So you can't tell me that, you know, you'd expect the Indian batsman to score more runs than England's at home. As Stokes is in once again, Rahane knocks it back with a point on the offside off the back foot, and there's no run. 31 overs gone, 49 for 3 here on TalkSport 2. You'd expect, as you say, all of India's top 6 or 7, if Pant ends up batting at 7, average 40 and above. Kohli averages 50. Rohit averaging 60 in this series. Everybody else is much less than 35. Well, and most of them are less than 25.
Yeah, but and let's be honest, when you go to places like this, Bush, you expect one team in the game to get 400 in the first innings, don't you? You just expect it. And you expect the pitch to deteriorate as the game goes on. I think that's normal. I mean, we all expect that. But this one looks a good pitch. I think it's been the best pitch of the series, so it's even between bat and ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And England had a shocker yesterday. Yeah. Absolute shocker to be bowled out for 205. I mean, you can kind of understand it in terms of confidence because of what's happened to them in the last 2 test matches, the last 5 innings really. But even so, 300 was an absolute minimum for par on the deck as it played yesterday. And India will be hoping to make them pay for that. I mean, there's that old saying, isn't there, about cricket in the subcontinent, where the game accelerates from sort of the last session on day 3. Well, we've watched test matches start on pitches that have been the last session on day 4. That's been the starting point as Leach is in to Rohit, and it's blocked to extra cover. There's no run, and as I say, with Rohit aside and Joe Root's double 100 in the first test match aside, nobody else has averaged. You know, you've had a couple of the Indian bowlers have averaged okay. So Ashwin's averaging 38 and Washington Sundar's averaging 40 something for his one innings. Rishabh Pant averaging 42. Quick single, and they get through comfortably in the end. Ball evaded Ben Stokes at slip and managed to sneak a single to backward point, and that's the 50 up in the 32nd over for India. It's been an excellent start for England this morning. They've applied the brakes, they've picked up Pujara and Kohli, and warm welcome to the commentary box to Gareth Batty and Steve Harmison. Morning to you, gentlemen.
Very good morning, sir. 26 runs, 2 wickets this session so far.
Pulled away by Rahane. Short ball from Leach, and Rahane pounced on that and crashed it through mid-wicket for 4. That brings the fans to life. Been a little subdued this morning as India have been on a go slow, but that's brought some of the colours and some of the flags flying in the stands here at the Narendra Modi Stadium.
Yeah, just a little bit shorter there from Jack. He just dropped it. He tried to bowl that little bit quicker, a little bit flatter, and when he does that, he has a tendency to drop it short. And Rahane, quick hands, quick feet, good contact, fine shot there by the Indian batsman.
Overcompensates, full toss, and it's half stopped by a diving Dan Lawrence at extra cover, and Rahane will pick up another single. He moves to 7, Rohit is 27 from 96 deliveries. Just watching a replay of the pull shot. Ollie Pope, who has become a bit of a master in there at short leg, has got the technique of keeping his hands folded in front of his chest and just ducking his head so that he has all of the covered parts of his body facing the ball, as Rohit again takes a little shuffle down the crease and blocks that ball with a dead bat towards extra cover, and there's no run. So you've got the top of the helmet and the shin pads are the only exposed parts of Ollie Pope in there at short leg, and he covers up. Not a position you ever fielded there, Steve, was it?
No, I was just about to say, but you're looking at me there and I was looking back at you very, very quizzically.
Nice big target in there anyway, as Leach finds a really good length again, and Rohit, who's played the spin quite superbly. I mean, he was bowled by Jack Leach in the early part of the series, sort of trying to keep the pad out the way and playing with the bat, perhaps playing slightly up the wrong line, the ball turning past the outside edge and hitting the off stump. But since then he's made one or two adjustments to the way that he's played in defensive mode, and has just looked, well, a class above everybody else in the series really. 55 for 3. Rohit is 27, Rahane 7, and England have got through 32 overs in this innings so far. And it might be time for a change, although I can just about see through the scorecard up here on the screen that it looks as though Ben Stokes is going to have another one, his 12th of the morning. England keeping Dom Best back, saving the best till last, perhaps.
Yeah, saving the best till last. Yeah, very good, Butch, very good. But I think it is just.
Stokes is in, half volley, and Rahane pings it through extra cover. Well, we've seen that once or twice from Ajinkya Rahane, not much in this series, but that is a glorious extra cover drive, and will bring up a second boundary to India's number 5 in consecutive overs.
Oh, full and wide, but it still needs dispatching. What a beautiful shot here from Rahane. This is just poetry. A high left arm, beautiful stride into the ball, lashed it through extra cover. Wonderful player to watch, Rahane. Maybe not quite as pleasant as Rohit Sharma at the other end, but still wonderful technician of batting.
It's going to be interesting to see what Rahane came out, because
Hold that thought. Stokes in, Rahane on the back foot. Footwork looking sharp at the moment against Ben Stokes. Ben Stokes just holding onto that knee a little bit as he wheels back towards his mark.
Rahane did an interview day before the game, 2 days before the game. He was very prickly with the Indian media, very questioning. Me and Manners did a cricket collective and we played the interview, and Rahane was very short with the Indian journalist, who suggested in the last 22 test matches Rahane averaging under 30 is his place up for question, and boy did he come back hard. He come back very, very hard. So it was always going to be intriguing to see how he goes out in the middle.
Back and across, Rahane, and a shoveled pull shot. It was not convincing by any means, and it just lobbed over the head of Ollie Pope, who was saving a single about 10 yards in front of square on the leg side. Rahane comes back for 2. Certainly looks as though Rahane has come out with positive intent here, Steve Harmison. And sometimes it takes that as a player. Either you get into a bit of a battle on the field, you pick a fight with a player in the opposition, as somebody like Ben Stokes or Virat Kohli might do, or it takes a bit of criticism from the outside to kind of jolt you into action. It certainly looks as though Rahane has come out not looking to be passive in this innings. He's on 13 and Stokes charges into him once again, and it's a full delivery. The ball just fading away from the right-hander, but Rahane lets it pass. I think we might be seeing the last deliveries of this marathon spell from Ben Stokes, who rather limps back to his mark. He has an ongoing knee problem. I think it's a left knee, a knee that crashes into the crease as he releases the ball. And his captain will think that he's been incredibly well served by his premium all-rounder today, but this might well be the last of it in this session anyway. Stokes running away from us here. Orange on the back of on the bottom of his soles, flipping up. The ball rears at Rahane, who gets a glove on it round the corner to behind square on the leg side, and they'll pick up a single.
It's really interesting, Butch, you talk about Rahane, because age, as you get older or the more experience you get, you understand risk a bit more, and sometimes you get yourself almost too worried about the risk and the pressure that you feel, and I shouldn't do this because if I do this might happen, and so on and so forth. Sometimes you've got to get yourself out of it and remember that when you first started the game, you used to play in a certain manner. These were your shots, these were your way of imposing yourself on the opposition.
Stokes is in. Oh, a huge banana-ing in-swinger, and Rohit mistimes it, and the ball might just have carried to Ben Stokes in his follow-through. He'd have had to dive to his right and pulled off a staggering one-handed return catch. As it is, it evaded him. He looks shattered, to be honest with you. It gets very, very warm during the daytime out there in Ahmedabad. Yeah, just took the inside half of the bat, and the ball, way too wide of Stokes in his follow-through. And Stokes is lying there prone in the middle of the pitch on the replay. I think he's saying, "That's me, Skip. I'm done."
I'm not sure he will be, though. I think we might see one more over of Ben Stokes. I think if I was Joe Root as captain, I'd be thinking, well, this is as good as I'm going to get at Stokes. And if he's got one more in the tank, I'd rather have an over of him at the way he's at the minute, the mindset of running in, trying to make something happen, rather than a bit later on when he's a bit stiff and sore and trying to get him going again. So while he's going like this, I'd be tempted to keep him going, because if he can break this partnership with a bouncer or one that just bounces a little bit off a length, then putting him away for the rest of the day, I think that would be a good game plan, a good thought for the England captain.
Well, we'll see if we get another one from Ben Stokes. You're listening to commentary of the fourth test between India and England on TalkSport 2 with the Times and the Sunday Times, writing with an edge. Neil Manthorpe, what edge are you going to give us now?
Jack Leach is looking for the edge, pushed out defensively towards mid-off. No run. It's a bit like the Formula One car, isn't it? I mean, not that I've had much to do with Formula One racing, but you hear the commentators saying, like, can he do another lap? Can he get one more lap? Because you've got to come in for the pit stop now.
I've got one for you, Manners. It's almost like the cricketing equivalent of an ultra marathon.
Whipped away just past mid-wicket, just evades the diving Dom Sibley at short mid-wicket, and he gets up off his stomach onto his hands and knees, and again, oohs and ahs, because that was in the air and it wasn't too far away from him. Ajinkya Rahane picks up 4.
Yeah, no go slow for Ajinkya Rahane. Gets deep in the crease, and with a whirl of the bat, almost like he's throwing his cape around his head with the bat, flicks it through that leg side. Beautiful shot, hitting against the spin into an open-ish mid-wicket area, but a diving Sibley made it look a bit closer than it actually was.
Yeah, I think he did. Ajinkya Rahane now forward, playing defensively, and there's no run. India 66 for 3. We're going to have to come back to that ultra-marathon analogy. You're talking my language, but I'm not.
Please, he's talking yours, Manners, because he lost me. I'm not sure where he lost me, ultra or marathon.
If I'd put Mikel up first, you'd have been somewhere there, wouldn't you?
Here's Leach again. Forward comes Ajinkya Rahane. He's 18 off 26, and he's being, as Mark Butcher was describing, very positive, trying to assert himself and get India back in control of this test match, because it's been England's session so far quite comfortably. They've taken a couple of wickets, and the runs have come at an absolute trickle as they try to up close to England's 205. Leach in again, Rahane forward again, blocking this one with a dead bat, nudging it out into the offside. Jack Leach has bowled very, very tidily. He's into his 11th over, and has the important wicket of Teshwar Pujara in the morning session to show for his efforts, but it's the spell of Ben Stokes that's really been eye-catching. Here is Leach once again, right up into the block hole, and it's driven straight towards mid-wicket, and Dom Sibley does the fielding along the ground. 34 overs gone, India 66 for 3. Now then, Ben Stokes, we're on to the subject of Ben Stokes. Can they get another lap out of him before he needs to go into the pits, or will he run out of fuel or something break before they can make that pit stop?
I just feel like this first session of the day he's run his first marathon. I don't know what it has been on the bounce. Is it sort of 8 or 9 now? Maybe even getting close to 10. 12 on the bounce.
This will be his 12th if he bowls this one, yeah.
Wow. I've undercooked the ultra marathon bit, but an ultra marathon is what? Is it in 90 k's? Is it?
Well,
Manus?
they vary, but yeah, I mean an ultra marathon is anything over the classic 42 kilometres.
Okay.
So Comrades, the famous Comrades marathon, is 90 kilometres.
That's more what I was getting at, my friend, my comrade. So in effect, he's done his first marathon in this session. Can we get another 2 out of him to get the comrade equivalent? Was more what I was getting at.
The question is what is he going to come back with? That's my big worry with Ben. If he does stiffen up and when he's had a bit of lunch, we're not going to get anything anywhere near the spell that we've just getting, the venom that we're just getting. So interesting, he's not coming on. Best is coming on. From an off-spinning point of view, what sort of message is the captain? What's the captain going to be saying in his ear?
Well, I think it's good in lots of ways that there's 20 minutes, 15 minutes until. So there's a sort of a sizable chunk without it being too big. So he's basically saying this is a bit of a tax-free time to bowl. If you do get the odd one wrong, it doesn't matter. But if you pick us a wicket up here, pal, we're right in the game because we've controlled this session. We've earned the right for this moment.
Well, he had a problem with bowling full tosses in the first Test match, and he then had a problem with a couple of drag downs in the one over he bowled yesterday, and that is a full toss to start with, but it's a low dipping one. It's actually not a bad delivery because it's almost a Yorker and it hits the toe end of Rohit Sharma's bat as he looks to drive it down towards mid-on. So actually, if you're going to bowl a full toss, that's the one to bowl. That's a tricky delivery. If your batsman tries to drive it too early. Bess in once again and nudged away with the spin behind square on the leg side to backward square leg. Ajinkya Rahane is 18 at the non-striker's end. Rohit Sharma's 27 off 101 balls. The freewheeling, free scoring, uninhibited Rohit Sharma is 27 off 101 balls. Dom Bess slipped short leg and that is pushed away towards Ollie Pope at short leg. He makes good stop and there's no run.
I think that, man, tells you how well England have bowled this morning. Jimmy Anderson bowled a touch wide, but that's the way Jimmy bowls, and I thought he bowled well this morning. I think Ben Stokes got into his spell, and it was a long marathon spell, but he got into it, and I think he's bowled very, very well. I think England have contained Rohit Sharma very, very well this morning. So, it's about now putting the pressure on and hopefully try and get his wicket just before this lunch break.
2 close catches and then 4 in an almost perfect square at point square leg mid-on, mid-off, and forward comes Rohit again playing defensively and there's no run. So there's a lovely moment when you run the Comrades Marathon. After 42 kilometres there's a big sign on the side of the road that says, "Congratulations, you have now completed a standard 42-kilometre marathon." Here is Bess once again, and slog sweep, man out there at deep mid-wicket, and he's hit it too well. That's gone all the way. Suddenly, out of the blue, Rohit Sharma says, "Enough of this." Well, he's only faced 4 balls of Dom Bess, but he's just gone down on one knee, slog sweep, and has hit it magnificently.
Well, as anticipated, Sharma wasn't going to just let Dom Bess ball. He's got the 3 men out on the leg side. He's got a deep square leg, a deep mid-wicket and a long on. He wasn't worried about that. Gets his big left leg down the wicket. Big, expansive sort of lap slog stroke sweep. Gets it in front of square, in between deep mid-wicket and deep square leg. 1 bounce 4. But there's the intent. And that's what Akash said he would do. Said that's how he plays. And it's taken him 5 balls.
Well, 2 men out there, and I said it had gone all the way for 6, and I apologise because it just dipped, didn't it? And it landed just inside the rope. So it's that's a good spinning, fizzing delivery from Bess this time. Maybe it starts a bit straight and middle and off, but fizzes, hits the thigh pad of the batsman and flicks out on the onside. I was just finishing that story. So I'm just thinking about Ben Stokes, how much more work he's got to do, because after you run past that sign in the ultra marathon, there's another one a kilometre later that says you only have 47 left. So Ben Stokes may have bowled 11 overs now on the bounce, but how many more has he got to bowl today?
I think you're basically saying there's a bit of torture coming his way, physically. This is the difficulty for Dom Best, though. Just going back to that over, he's bowled a nice over, good areas, but his best ball, the ball that he wants to bowl just outside off stump, hitting probably the top of middle and off, got swept for 4, almost 6. And that's the thing you have to suck up as an off-spinner to a right-handed batsman who's prepared to play big shots. Sometimes your best ball can get smacked, but you've got to be strong in mind and strong in action to keep bowling that ball and have the brave sort of aspect to your game to just fractionally change how it arrives. So it might be a bit more square seam, so it just travels a bit further and a little bit more direct. Then the next one might be an overspin where it drops a little bit more and bounces a bit more, hopefully trying to sort of create the half chance that you require from the guy being expansive. There is an amount of being brave with it,
but there's also having confidence in your leadership basically saying, right, there's a man out there deep square, there's a man at mid-wicket out on the boundary, so if he wants to have a go at that, and fair play to him, the ball is turning. We've seen the ball before that bounced up off the arm, it took a little chunk out the surface, so it's saying to Dom Best, don't be frightened to bowl that ball, don't hold that ball back. That is your best ball, so bowl it. If it goes for 6 or 4, there's not much you can do about it.
Jimmy Anderson's back into the attack now, and he bowls a beautiful away swinger. Absolutely magnificent. As it came out the hand, the batsman was thinking, that's drive, that's half volley, and it swung at the last moment, very late. Beautiful delivery, go past the outside edge. What a ball.
It was an absolute beauty. I just wonder if it's reverse swinging. And you talk about Ben Stokes and that 42.7 point in the marathon, and you're thinking, what more is there left? And 47 kilometres more. But actually, if this ball starts reverse swinging,
Anderson in once again. That's pushed defensively to Bairstow at mid-on.
If it is reverse swinging, Jimmy might have to go suck it up and think, right, I'm going to have to go and do Ben Stokes might have to have another go here because he is our best reverse swing bowler.
That was reverse swing, wasn't it? I mean, the definitely.
But you know yourself, Army, when the ball is doing a little bit, all of a sudden you can find that little bit more from the pit of your stomach, from your energy reserves, whatever it might be. If it's dull and nothing's happening, that's the difficult bit.
Here's Jimmy Anderson once again, and this time angles it in towards the batsman, and Jinky Rahane turns it off his pads down towards deep backward square leg and comes sprinting back for the second. Well, scuttling back for the second, really. I don't think he had to sprint. Rahane's up to 20 now.
And that's the problem, Bats, and I keep wanting to rein myself in by saying, well, you've had your say on selection. Don't keep banging on about it. But can you imagine if we had another seamer on this? If you had a Mark Wood or you had an Ollie Stone who actually reverse swings the ball very, very well, it just, again, I don't want to be critical, but we've got it horribly, horribly wrong.
The only other side to that I'll explain after this ball.
Anderson in once again. Good leave from Rahane, 72 for 3.
Would be that India were only trailing by 93 or whatever, because you're taking away those extra runs that Lawrence got batting at 7 as your extra batter. Is that as... It's the counter argument, isn't it? I'm not saying which way I would have gone, but the counter argument is, well, are those runs at this point more significant and allowing this period of the game to happen? You almost can't have 12 players, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you can't have 12 players, but you can't legislate for what. If you've got 11 men in a team and Lawrence is not in the team, it's up to somebody else to take the responsibility to score the runs.
Here's Jimmy Anderson once again, and he's bowling full, asking for the drive, inviting the drive, and the invitation is accepted by Rahane. He drives it to mid-off.
So what I'm trying to say with that is Ben Stokes is batting, he's 50 not out, then all of a sudden they lose a wicket. Instead of Lawrence coming in, Folkes comes in, and Folkes gets out. All of a sudden Ben Stokes might get 40 or 50 more runs that Lawrence got by opening up, playing with a tail. It might have just freed Ben up. So you can never say what if that number 8 batsman got that runs. This is a different argument again.
Anderson in once again, chipped up leading edge in the air, and it just clears mid-wicket. Oh, well, that was a mistake from Ajinkya Rahane. He's just looking a bit rattled at the moment here. He was I think he's just closed the face, and he's been done by a little bit of swing from Jimmy Anderson once again. It looked like a leading edge. It just popped up into the air, and he's fortunate. He's got away with that.
Yeah, it just looks to me as though he's not quite getting into the ball. He's not quite getting his head at the ball, so his weight is back a fraction. And on this occasion, he's got his left leg the wrong side of the ball, and Jimmy Anderson has got that ball just to tail in a little bit, maybe holding the surface. So he's hitting sort of across himself, gets a bit of a leading edge, loops up and over where a mid-wicket would have been, so relatively safe an outcome this time. But you just feel like that whole over, Rahani's just, his weight is back a little bit because he's worried about the amount of movement that Anderson's getting, and he doesn't want to be pushing at the ball. It's a fine over again from James Anderson. I think he's only gone for 7 in his 11 or 12 overs that he's bowled.
His figures are a freak show. 11 overs, 8 maidens, 1 for 7.
I also think Rahani's coming out with a conscious mind of the pressure that he's under. He wants to score. This is a big 6 minutes for England. Possibly give Rohit Sharma one, get him off strike, and get Rahane on strike, see if he can get him out.
Don Bess in then and nudged away past Dolly Pope. It sticks out a hand and takes some of the pace off it at short leg, and they scamper through for another single.
I was about to say, I don't think Don Bess will be arguing with you there, but nicely, he just tucked one off his hip first ball, and he's got Rahane down there.
I tell you what, England need to look after this ball now. Their ball maintenance has been absolutely brilliant. I mean, they've got it to the condition now and into the state where it's reverse swinging, and if somebody messes it up, and it's going to go very flat, very soft, very quickly. They've got to keep it in cotton wool now, keep it dry.
And then Jimmy Anderson will go even more very, very grumpy.
Got to keep it in the condition it is in now for as long as possible. Here is Don Bess again. Quicker one, and Ajinkya Rahane right back into his crease, plays defensively.
Interesting move. Captain Joe Root has brought deep mid-wicket up for Rahane. He's kept the square leg, who's just in front of square. I'm not sure about Long On. I don't think Long On's back either. I think he's bringing him up a little bit now. So he's only got that one man on the leg side. He's tempting him. He's saying, come on, do you want to play a big shot?
He's testing his ego, isn't he? Because he's just on the stroke of lunch, and he's saying, come on then, I've brought the deep mid-wicket in, play your slog sweep. Forward comes Rahane again, pushing it defensively up towards mid-wicket. And there is no run. The difference between, on the final word about ultra-marathons and test matches, is the difference is, in an ultra-marathon, the second half, there's a rescue bus that patrols up and down the route, and if you go in the calf or the hamstring or so, you can just jump on the bus and then it'll take you to the finish line. In a test match, I'm sorry, there's 3 days to go. There's no bus, there's no rescue bus. Ben Stokes, that's pushed out towards short leg again. Ollie Pope does the fielding. India 75 for 3. There's always talk about where's the bus, don't get on the bus, I need the bus. But there is that's why it's Test cricket. There's no bailout. Here is Bess once again, high full toss, and it's driven away through extra cover, and that's disappointing. That's not the low dipping variety. That was really a gimme. What is that? Knee height?
Yeah, knee height. But what's he trying there? Is he trying to just throw that up that little bit more, which we've seen Akshar Patel bowl, that one that flights a bit more, just seems to take a little bit more spin. Is that what he's trying to do?
I think he's just lost his timing. Don Bess, his shoulders work in a straight line, and if anything, he's a bit in with his shape. He's not a traditional drifted out and spin it back in. And I think that one, maybe his timing's gone with his front side, so he's sort of lobbed it outside off stump as opposed to that harder, faster ball that he bowls straight.
Here is Bess once again, and that one's better, straighter, and it's a good length, and it's turned for another single behind square on the leg side. 37 overs gone. India had a wobble this morning, but they're back on track, you would think, at 80 for 3. Rahane 27, Rohit Sharma 32.
So I suppose, and maybe you big lads talk about it as well, Steve, the fast bowlers, that if you're going to miss how you want to miss. So if the ball's swinging a lot and we're saying we want to target the stumps, it's kind of like, well, I don't mind if you just go onto his hip, because we want the batsman playing. We don't want you missing and it going through channel and wasting a swinging ball. I suppose the principle for Bess in this is, actually, it's okay that you bowl straight or into in. That's fine. We've set a field accordingly. So if you miss with that ball that he bowled, the very last ball of the over, where it just drifts into middle stump and it's just a tuck off the hip, at least you're bringing in your catches. Don't miss the other way.
Jimmy Anderson last over before lunch, and forward comes Rahane, pushing it backward point. There's no run.
Because obviously, if you miss the other way, the outcome is far more damaging. With an easier, I suppose, for the batter. It's easier batting to just lay bat on it and get it through cover for 4.
You're listening to commentary of the 4th Test between India and England on TalkSport 2, with the Times and the Sunday Times cricket writing team writing with an edge. Jimmy Anderson, remember, it seems like a month ago, but it was a month ago that he bowled one of the best overs in the series. That's down the leg side, however, this time, and Ajinkya Rahane leaves it alone. He bowled Cheteshwar Pujara and Ajinkya Rahane, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And the one to Rahane, they've just shown the replay on TV there. It was absolutely beautiful. In with the wrist, kept going, and there just seemed to be the perfect time when the ball's gone through the gate between bat and pad as the gap became open. So, a fantastic over by Jimmy Anderson, and the bowled well this morning. Again, he's bowled fantastically well this morning.
He has. Here he is once more, and it's played defensively, but again by Ajinkya Rahane. Is Dan Lawrence? Do either of you know? Is Dan Lawrence a particularly renowned ball maintenance man? Because his shirt is an absolute mess, and he's, and great credit to him, because look what it's doing now. He's fantastic.
I think he's just a bit of a cheeky chappy and he wants to get in the game, doesn't he? So he gets a bit bored otherwise. So it's kind of, well, come on then, we'll give you some responsibility.
They throw it to him. He's polishing it every single delivery.
Yeah, he's the designated ball shiner, yeah, 100%.
Doing a great job as well. Great job. India 80 for 3. They've lost a couple of wickets in the morning session. I'll tell you about those in a second. Here's Anderson again, and Ajinkya Rahane comes forward and pushes it this time into the covers. So the first man to go was Cheteshwar Pujara after India resumed this morning at 24 for 1. Pujara LBW on the front foot to Jack Leach. Very fine piece of umpiring, because the ball hit the pads fraction of a second after it hit the bat first. And then Virat Kohli got an excellent bouncer from Ben Stokes, which he fended at. Could only get a thin edge through to Ben Folkes. Kohli went without scoring edge, and it's taken by Ben Stokes at second slip, and Jimmy Anderson has the 3rd wicket of the session, the 4th of the innings. Superb low catch from Ben Stokes. Looked like it was dying off the outside edge, but Stokes managed to get his fingers underneath it at second slip as he was diving forward. That's brilliant bowling and superb catching, and India are 80 for 4.
Absolute beauty by Jimmy Anderson. Great catch by Ben Stokes down, diving right in front of Joe Root. It wouldn't have carried to Joe Root. That's how good a catch it was. You normally, from where Ben Stokes would be looking to go to his right, he's had to dive to his left because it went in front of the England captain. What a session by England. What a performance by Anderson, Stokes, Leach and Bess. England are right back in this game. 84 for 4. And England have worked very, very hard to get themselves in a position to get back into the game, and Jimmy Anderson has just done what Jimmy Anderson does best, found the outside edge, and his team will be walking off and enjoying their lunch.
Oh, brilliant from James Anderson. Almost set him up the over before, just holding his length beautifully. Rahane not quite getting into the ball. This time held on the crease a little bit. He's thinking, I want to get forward. Doesn't want to push his hands at the ball, but ultimately has to, because the line is good, and just fends enough to make the ball carry to a diving Ben Stokes, which was a fine catch, as Harmy said. But it's the setup almost for the 8, 9, 10 balls that he faced off Anderson before that just lures him in, just created enough doubt, so he just holds on the crease. Beautiful bowling from Anderson.
Very often we talk about bowlers bowling in pairs, and one bowler tying up an end, and we credit him with an assist if the bowler at the other end takes the wicket. Well, this may be a controversial call, but I think Dan Lawrence ought to be credited with an assist for that wicket for Jimmy Anderson. I mean, the ball is in perfect condition for a bit of reverse swing.
Yeah, and absolutely. We don't give the credit to the guy that's getting the tool right, shall we say. You know, the bat makers don't get it when the guy gets 300, and in this instance, the guy's on the field. So yes, absolutely, that Dan Lawrence should be championed. It's brilliant. England have been magnificent this session. The first 20 overs went for 31 with the 2 wickets. And then they had a little bit of a period where India played a few shots and played very nicely. But they finished the session 3 for 56 in 26. That is one incredible session from England. Holding the game, but also taking wickets. Being patient when at times we've all been on air saying there's not a lot happening here. This is looking a bit doom and gloom. No. The scoreboard was going nowhere. England were always in the ascendancy this morning. And it's the old adage, you stick a wicket on it, stick 2 on it, wow. England are right on the front foot in this game.
Yeah, and the patience is definitely the key, and it's hard sometimes as a fielding side. It's hard to be patient when you haven't got a great deal of runs on the board. You're trying to make something happen, but you need to sort of sit in because the surface and the conditions ask you to do that. And you know, fair play to England, they were brilliant. Stokes has bowled a mammoth spell of 11, 12 overs. Jimmy Anderson's backed that up before and after Stokes. And Jack Leach is, you know, when you talk about bowling and partnerships as a unit, England have bowled well, and the catch at the end probably just typifies that session off because it was concentration. You know, when you're at slip, you don't expect the ball to come to you. When it does, you have to dive low to his left. Wouldn't have carried to first slip. I just think it's been an absolute brilliant session of cricket by the England cricket team, and they are right back in this test match.
As Ben Stokes said at the close of play yesterday, we should still have been batting by the end of day 1. He made no excuses and he didn't pretend that there wasn't a strong air of disappointment in the England camp that they'd been bowled out for 205. They knew they would have to dig very, very deep in the morning session on day 2. That's exactly what they have done. And India have limped and struggled their way to 80 for 4 with that last wicket of Ajinkya Rahane in the last over before the lunch break.